Good afternoon. What is happening, guys? How are you all? Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to another episode of the Blood Angels Army List show. So I see a couple of people hanging out in chat already. Scott, Zacharias, nice to see you guys. Hopefully a few more will pick up. But yeah, 23rd of May today, and I guess we are continuing looking at 5 community lists, and we've got a few lists to look at today. A couple submitted by members, Zacharias and Steve T. We got a couple of members' lists, and then we'll move on to Adam, Stevens, Mika, Michaela, and Russell Dobson. So a couple of non-member, well, 3 non-members in fact as well. Good afternoon, Michael. Thanks for tuning in. So morning, Steel Rain. How you doing? 5 lists to look at as always, and if at any point during today's stream I'm a bit out of it, I have had a headache the entire day, so if you see me scowling into the camera at any point, then it's just because the stupid headache does not want to go away. So if I'm a bit slow today, you guys in chat, please keep me right. I'm now blue, says Steel Rain. Yes, congratulations. Thank you very much for being a supporter, Steel Rain. It's appreciated. And yeah, so today's first list is going to be Steve T. And the only other interesting bit of news, I guess, today that we saw was that morning, Benjamin. How you doing? What were they called? Oh no, that's not where we want to go. The heavy intercessors are finally on sale, and so is the new Gravis Captain. And I guess, you know, I buy all my stuff from Element in the UK, which makes things quite a bit cheaper. But I guess, like, if you're going to buy these from GamesWorkshop.com, hey Adam, you're going to pay a lot of money to buy these from Games Workshop. I mean, like, you save like $8 buying them from like a reseller, and there are a lot of resellers in the UK anyway. There's a ton of resellers, and yeah, I mean, it's a big cut, you know. But like, yeah, I mean, people were asking in the chat, are these guys worth, like, are they worth 40 points? Sorry, are they worth £6 a model? People weren't actually asking about the points on the tabletop. They were asking about how much they cost, really. I took a photo of the ones that I've done already. So I think they're cool models. I like them a lot. I made these guys, try to make them pretty quickly, and I think they're decent. I mean, the Dark Pariah box doesn't sound so bad now when you consider if you buy these 2 guys together, you're $50 anyway. Are they still selling Dark Pariah? Oh no, it wasn't called Dark Pariah. Sorry, it was called Pariah Nexus, right? Kill Team Pariah Nexus. Yeah, so I mean, if you can find a Necron player to go halves on the Kill Team box with you actually save another £10. And then inside the Kill Team box, you get a bunch of terrain as well. And in UK, it's definitely in stock. So it's kind of sad that the Kill Team, because the Kill Team, like, that's where I got my characters from, the 1 character and the 5 guys. So I didn't expect it myself to save $10 buying it and then going halves, but it definitely seems they're unremarkable, says Robert. I mean, I guess they're unremarkable. I mean, they still feel nice, right? Like when you see the size of the models and stuff, I feel like they feel like nice models. Like, they feel large, and I mean, the Gravis models are generally just pretty cool. So happy Sunday, brothers. I've had a massive hobby weekend and found this channel. Happy times. Hey David, thank you. Glad to see you found the channel. I'm always amazed that people still find the channel. I mean, you know, we've got 5,000 odd subscribers. We've been around for a while, but still people find it new every day. So welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Alright, they look cool and they're going to work great in a Gravis battalion. I mean, I guess the other cool thing about them, I suppose, is you can transhuman them. So if you're a Blood Angels player who's playing a lot of Firstborn units, and you aren't playing Eradicators, because I guess that's the one big thing the Eradicators have over the attack bikes, right? The Eradicators have the ability to be transhumaned, whereas the attack bikes obviously don't. So I guess if you're gonna play attack bikes and you're not gonna play Eradicators or Blade Guard veterans or something like that, then the advantage of being able to transhuman your troops is a pretty nice option. All right, good afternoon, casual gamer. How you doing? if they were between 25 and 30, I would have scooped up 2 boxes this weekend. I mean, that's just the cost of them, I guess. All the models at the moment have a lot of costs. I mean, it's not a cheap hobby, I guess. It is creeping up year on year, I guess. But I mean, I guess as long as people still are willing to pay it, it'll continue to creep up. So, I guess there's nothing we can really do about that, unless we all decide tomorrow to stop buying models, and I don't think that's going to happen. I was watching you play that new Blood Angels v Tyrannus game. I've now seen several hours of your firstborn unit analysis on what I've been cleaning and undercoating. Oh, nice, David. Well, welcome to the channel. Gravis can get a 2+ save against 1 damage weapons as well. Yeah, I think that costs 1 CP, isn't it? I can't remember what it's called. It's called something like Unyielding in the Face of the Foe or something. So what's interesting, I suppose, is Steel Rain is if you put your Gravis units into cover, they're on a 2-up save. So if they get shot with 1 damage weapons, then you can get them on a 1-up save. Which I guess could make them pretty resilient. You know, like if the enemy is going to target them on a 1-up save, you know, they have to be hitting them with like -3 to even put them on a 4+ save. I can see a role for Gravis. I don't think I'm taking them currently. I'm going to continue with Infiltrators, but like I think at some point, maybe when they're painted, I'll try like getting them into my army for a little bit anyway. Hey Matt, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so let's bring up the first list for today then. This list is sent to me by Steve T, and he has sent me a wall of text. He has even said sorry for it, so let's take a stab at this list. He's going to run a Vanguard and Patrol combo. There isn't much direct shooting in this list, but thinking about running this as a Blitzkrieg attacking list, getting to combat as soon as possible. From there, whatever they don't kill immediately, there's enough Infernal Pistols to give you a high likelihood of doing some serious damage. Assuming I go first, Death Company, Forlorn Fury up the board, then moves to charge the opponent's backfield and hopefully create a nice pocket to deep strike the Vanguard veteran units with Storm Shields and Sanguinary Priest in. The Sanguinary Guard, Smash Captain and Bite Chaplain will move up behind them. Librarian and Infiltrators will steal positions up the field and take objectives. When my units move up, I'll guerrilla tactics the Infiltrators to the backfield to deny some deep strike, holding backfield objectives with a whirlwind while the Librarian joins the second Vanguard vets moving forward. Leviathan and Blade Guard will either hold the middle or the opposing flank, and from there the Murder Blob, Death Company, Vanguard Veterans, Sanguinary Priest on one flank murders its way across the board, while the Assault Terminators wait in deep strike to take advantage of pockets that open up for some charges, or move to attack units that press towards my backline with the ability to teleport Homer back up and down the field, deep striking if necessary. I find the teleport Homer very difficult to get value out of, right? Like, because it's the same as Upon Wings of Fire, right? Upon Wings of Fire, last edition was amazing. I think I've cast it once in 9th edition since the Codex came out in December. And I've run Teleport Homer a couple of times, and again, I've never used it. It's rough taking them off the board for an entire turn. P.S. I know my second squad of Vanguard veterans should have Lightning Claw and Storm Shield, but I bought a Legion Dawnbreaker unit and they're a nightmare to try and break things off, so running their initial loadout and seeing what I can do with it. Okay, I think I have a Facebook open in a tab. Let me close that because I don't want to hear the pings from Facebook. I'm still not sold on the whole Primaris thing. I prefer the Firstborn models. Well, I mean, if you've painted some Primaris models, and if I don't know about you, Adam, but like I painted Centurions recently, and I painted Aggressors maybe last year, and I find the bigger models are generally pretty fun to paint. But I totally understand what Firstborn. Are we having technical difficulties? I'm not aware that we are. We check the stream health. It says the stream is healthy, Zacharias. But sometimes Facebook will tell me the stream is health. Sorry, sometimes YouTube will tell me on. Okay, all right, cool. Okay, so let's start. We start with Patrol Detachment, and this is 934 points. So this will be basically 2 HQ and 1 troop choice. So Librarian and Phobos. You've picked powers that the Librarian and Phobos cannot take. Steel Rain. No, not Steel Rain, Steve T, sorry. Like I said, I got a bad headache today, so if I make any mistakes, please excuse me. Phobos Librarian cannot take Space Marine powers. I'm like 90% convinced of that. You can take Winds of Sanguinius, but you can't take the Librarius Discipline. You can only take Obscuration. So this guy needs to be changed to be not Phobos, just a general Librarian. Someone in chat correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's right. The Sanguinary Priest, Artificer Armor, Chief Apothecary, Selfless Healer, Teeth of Terra, and the Warlord. And personally, I think that Teeth of Terra and Artificer Armor on the Sanguinary Priest is a waste. I don't think the Sanguinary Priest should be in combat, period. I mean, he can go into combat in turn 4 or 5 when you've like mopped up a lot of things and there's easy targets for him to kill, but for the most part, the Sanguinary Priest should be positioned where he's never in combat. I get the Teeth of Terror makes him a little bit more punchy, but I think if you're going to put armor on him, I think Armor Indomitus is a better choice. It gives him an extra wound, and Artificer Armor really only helps against -3 AP, right? Because you have to be hit with -4 to be on a worse save. So if you're trying to keep your priest out of combat and res people, how often are you getting hit with -4 weapons? And even if you do if the enemy does get lucky and manage to target them with something nasty, use the 3++ save that Armor Indomitus gives for a single phase. I think that's a better option. But I would generally, like, I run my Sanguinary Priest with no relics and no extra armor, and generally he survives. I mean, maybe he gets picked off in turn 4 or 5 when the units on the board are thinning down and stuff. But for the most part, I don't think you need to spend the points on trying to make him more survivable. He shouldn't be in combat. He's not supposed to be a combat unit. Okay, so you are supposed to delete the Teeth of Terror. That's fine, but definitely think about Armor Indomitus over Artificer Armor. I mean, I could math hammer it out at some point, but I definitely feel like Armor Indomitus is going to be the better choice. Yeah, and I guess, Steve, you need to switch this Librarian and Phobos to just a Librarian regularly if you want to take these 3 powers, which are good powers to take. I generally think these powers are great. I like Null Zone personally. I go Null Zone, Psychic Fortress, but all 3 of these powers are good. Infiltrator Squad with a Helix Gauntlet, hard to argue with that. You know, sort of the most survivable troop choice and also anti-deep strike. Excuse me. Leviathan with Siege Drill, Meltagun, the Grav Flux, and the Twin Volkite Cavaliers, probably the strongest loadout in my opinion for the Leviathan. Can definitely do some work, does a decent bit of shooting, and is also very scary in close combat. Leviathans, I think, for Blood Angels right now, they're probably still the most survivable unit we can field as well, right? 14 wounds, 2+ save, 5+ invulnerable save, -1 to all damage. Leviathans are very good. The only bad thing about Leviathan is it doesn't have the core keyword, but, I mean, you know, sometimes units just don't have that core keyword and you just have to deal with it. We then have an Assault Squad of Terminators. Sergeant has the Thunderhammer and Storm Shield, 2 more with Thunderhammer and Storm Shields, and 2 with Lightning Claws. And I generally always suggest that you have the Thunderhammer on the Sergeant to get that extra attack with the Thunderhammer. Some people seem to like to have the Sergeants with the double Lightning Claws, but I think it's better to have the Sergeant with the Thunderhammer. So this is right, or this is good. And then the Whirlwind with a Castellan launcher to round it out and give you access to that suppression fire. Good afternoon, Krychek. How you doing? Good afternoon, Highland Phoenix. Nice to see you. I see a few other people coming in. Sorry if I didn't greet everyone. Hey, Martin. Okay, and then let's have a look at the second detachment, which is a Vanguard Detachment, and we have a captain who is the Artisan of War with a Gift of Foresight and the Adamantium Mantle and an Infernal Pistol and a Jump Pack and a Mastercrafted Weapon on the Thunderhammer. Interesting. Okay, can you do all that? You've given him Gift of Foresight, and then you've given him Mastercrafted Weapon, and then you've given him Artisan of War to get the Adamantium Mantle. Yeah, I think you can do all that. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. I mean, so what does that give him? Basically, he's a He's a jump captain with an Infernal Pistol, a 4 damage Thunderhammer. I assume you Mastercraft the Thunderhammer. Reroll 1 hit, 1 wound, 1 save, and then also have a 5 triple plus invulnerable save. Okay. Yeah, that's a very survivable and it's a nice balance, I think, between survivability and damage output on that captain. We have the Primaris Chaplain on a bike, who is great. He has the Litany of Faith and he has the Mantra of Strength. He is the Master of Sanctity as well, so he can do 2 litanies per turn. And then he just has the Icon of the Angel, I guess, to reroll some charges. Now, I guess the Litany of Faith is The Litany of Faith is where he creates a bubble of feel no pain against mortal wounds. I mean, I guess that's situational, but it is kind of nice to have it. So, Chaplain on a bike with Mantra of Strength, and another, that's a 3 damage Crozius. It can be very good as well. We then have 4 Blade Guard Veteran. I assume these guys hold the middle. I think that's what it said. Hold the middle with Leviathan. We have the Death Company, which is 2, 4, just a 5-man Death Company with 1 hammer. Sanguinary Guard, which is 2, 4, 6, 7. 7, 5 swords, 2 axes, 2 Infernal Pistols, and the rest bolters. I mean, that's a pretty fine breakdown of Sanguinary Guard. Swords are slightly better than axes in most situations. And then I like having 3 Infernal Pistols here. I was going to say I like having a couple or 1 Infernal Pistol. So pushing 3 it's okay. I mean, it's kind of hard to balance, and in different games it might do better or worse, but this is fine. We then have a bunch of Vanguard Veterans with Lightning Claws, 3 with Storm Shields, and then the double Lightning Claws in the Math Hammer didn't perform as well as Lightning Claws with Storm Shields. You get about, for each model, you get about, I think it was 10% more damage having that second Lightning Claw. And you lose about 40 or 50% survivability, so just keep that in mind. If this squad gets chewed up, the Storm Shields are sort of the strongest part of this. And then this is an interesting squad, all Infernal Pistols, all Power Swords on these Vanguard Veterans. So, yeah, I mean, I guess this is not what I recommend to run, right? In that, like, we have the Leviathan for shooting, and really that's it. So, I guess in terms of 3 damage weapons, though, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Infernal Pistols here, 8 Infernal Pistols, a Thunder Hammer, the 3 damage Crozius, that gives us 10, the 4 damage Thunder Hammer here, and the Infernal Pistol, that gives us 12. 3 more Thunder Hammers, that gives us 15. The Grav Flux and the Leviathan, that gives us 17. And then, I guess the Librarian, 18. So you do have a shitload of 3 damage weapons. 18 3 damage weapons. That's very good. But a lack of shooting, so you may end up having to deal with trash that you don't want to have to fight in close combat. So there's that against you. And then I guess you kind of suffer the same OBSEC problems that my list suffers, where you only have that one single OBSEC unit, but we know we can win games with one OBSEC unit, so it's not a problem. It just means you get a slightly lower score on the OBSEC part. Yeah, and your Warlord needs to be in the Patrol Detachment. Yeah, that's right. You don't get the points refunded from the Vanguard Detachment, so the Warlord, unless he's written down Warlord twice. Oh yeah, he has written down Warlord twice. So you've got the Warlord in both detachments. So really you need to put the Sanguinary Priest into this detachment, and the Cat, whichever one's your Warlord, needs to be in the main detachment. Thanks for pointing that out, Adam. 3, we talked about that last night a little bit, about having more Infernal Pistols to help open up transports for Drukhari is definitely something that we could consider. Death Guard and Admech are both in my meta, so there's that. So I mean, I guess that makes sense to have that many 3 damage weapons, and that's nice. The problem that I have, especially if you're fighting against Death Guard at the moment, is like, I feel like the best way to beat Death Guard is to pick off some of their strongest threats with shooting first, or whittle them down first, because, like, I mean, let's look at like a Plague Burst Crawler, for example, right? Like, because I recently played against Death Guard, and I think a Plague Burst Crawler it's toughness 8, it's 14 wounds, and it's a 5+ invulnerable save. But let me just double check that. Plague Burst Crawler. Sorry, 12 wounds. That was close. 12 wounds, 3+ save, 5+ invulnerable save, and toughness 8. Yeah, so like if you send in, let's just say 8 Sanguinary Guard. You've got 7 in your list here. I sent in 8 against it, but we'll do 7. So if you send in 7 Sanguinary Guard with their 5 attacks each, and we'll just use all swords, for example, so we're all... Or do you know what? It doesn't matter. Swords and axes are actually going to be the same. They're all going to push them onto the invulnerable save. So we're going to hit on 3s. So we're going to get 23 hits. We're only going to wound on 4s because toughness 8. So you're only going to make 11 wounds, and then they're going to save on 5s. So 0.666. So against a Plague Burst Crawler, 7 Sanguinary Guard on the charge are only going to do 7.75 damage. Now, when I did it, I sent in 8 Sanguinary Guard, which was 40 attacks, and I gave them the Chapter Master rerolls, so they basically get to hit on 7s, or 0.77 is the percentage hits. Again, we only wound on 5s, and again they save. So 8 Sanguinary Guard with Chapter Master rerolls only do about 10 damage to Plague Burst Crawlers. Now, Plague Burst Crawlers, does someone have something to switch off that in Vun? I mean, yeah, of course they do. We do have Null Zone and stuff, but I guess the point is you can't always guarantee your Null Zone is going to be everywhere you need it on the map. So Death Guard are insanely tanky, and I've been playing against Colin for a while now, and I've been telling him, like, Plague Burst Crawlers are super strong. And he's been running 2 of them, but like honestly, he might start running 3 of them. You know, a unit that can take that much. A toughness 8 tank with a 5+ invulnerable save, and a duty eternal. I mean, if you think about it, it's basically stronger than a Leviathan, because a Leviathan is toughness 7, 5+ save, duty eternal, and the -1 damage. And you know, so the Plague Burst Crawlers are basically as strong as Dreadnoughts, and they have a good number of guns on them. So, yeah, I mean, some people, I guess you can counter it by running a couple of fists in the Sanguinary Guard, but running the fists is a strange one, because sometimes running the fists, Highland Phoenix lets you wound on, like, it makes your dice roll for wounding 1 easier, but it makes your hit roll for wounding 1 weaker, right? Because of the -1 to hit with the power fist. So the power fist can actually be... It can kind of... It's the additional wound roll can kind of be cancelled out by that minus to hit roll. So it's kind of a tough one. So I think this... Like, if you have to run this list against Death Guard, I think you will struggle, especially if they have a Foul Blight spawn. I'm not sure if you know what the Foul Blight spawn is, but he has 2 relics that can basically make you fight last and also make it count that you've never charged. So you don't get your +1 attacks from Shock Assault, you don't get your +1 attacks from Savage Echoes, you don't get your +1 to wound from Red Thirst. It's absolutely brutal. I mean, if he's in range and he's positioned well and you can't take him out, then... yeah, you can have some big problems with that. So we can score the list, but personally, I think you have to drop one of the squads of Vanguard veterans or the Death Company here. And replace or the Assault Terminators. Yeah, I mean, like, I think your list would be stronger if you either dropped a squad of Vanguard veterans, Death Company, or Assault Terminators and replaced them with something that can do some good shooting. So, Eradicators with heavy melt rifles, attack bikes with multi-meltas, and I just think that and especially the Death Guard have that ability now if you're in contagion range to basically half your movement as well, right? So a good Death Guard player against this can do quite a bit to counter it. Admech, I'm playing the first time, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Plasma Inceptors and some Tat Bikes. I mean, Plasma Inceptors works as well, yeah. Something that can drop down and deal with some threats without having... And if you even think about this, like, the Foul Blight Spawn is ridiculously easy to kill, right? If we put him in, I think he's just like a toughness 5, 3+ save character, right? Yeah, so the Foul Blight Spawn is easy, super easy to kill. And I think good Death Guard players really probably will be running the Foul Blight Spawn, and he has that relic. It's called like Revolting Stench Vats, and it's real nasty. Let me see if I can get it up. I know that Colin runs it. I think he just runs it in general. Can't spell revolting. Sorry. While an enemy is within 6 inches of the bearer, that unit cannot make use of any rules that allow it to fight first, and it never has counters made a charge move this turn, irrespective of any abilities that unit may have. So, I mean, like, if you think about your Sanguinary Guard getting 40 attacks with 8 of them, you basically just have to lose, 8 times 2? So you just lose 16 attacks, and you lose your +1 to wounds. So, yeah, I mean, that's super strong. But I mean, like I said, the Foul Blight Spawn, if you have a captain that can deep strike in and go after him, if you have Plasma Inceptors that can drop in and shoot him if he's not protected, if he's the closest enemy model or something, being able to get rid of him, I mean, it determined... Some of it can be determined on how well the Death Guard player plays, and he might not run the Foul Blight Spawn. I mean, they don't have to, but it's 75 points. It's a pretty interesting option. I guess it's a bit like the Judicar in some ways, but it's kind of like a Judicar on crack with that relic just making him like so much better. And I honestly think Revolting Stench Rats is kind of a hard counter against Blood Angels. So, I mean, that's kind of my opinion of it. So, yeah. I mean, we talked a little bit about improving one of your characters. Your Librarian needs a tweak. The Jump Captain seems fine. The Chaplain seems good. Holding the middle of the board with Leviathan and the Blade Guard makes sense. And I guess most enemies, like, I guess 4 squads of Jump units and a squad of Assault Terminators will do well. Against Death Guard and good placement, they might struggle. Rezio says I pretty much always run the Foul Blight Spawn. Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like an auto-include for 75 points if you're a Death Guard player, and you just run him around. When I was playing Colin, he was running the Foul Blight Spawn around. In one of the games, he was just running it around with like a squad of 2 Plague Marines. In one of the other games, he was running it around with like a large squad of Blightlord Terminators, right? And I guess you could do that the same with the Death Shroud, and that would just be horrific. So, and if he does that right, it kind of makes those units unchargeable, right? Because, like, how can you charge into Death Shroud Terminators if they're going to get to attack you first, and all your charge bonuses are gone? And you'll know yourself. The charge bonuses we get for being a Blood Angel are massive, right? Like, those charge bonuses, the extra 2 attacks and the extra +1 to wound, generally make our first turn of charging devastating enough that we can beat the enemy in any other future combat, right? Because that first turn is so devastating. If you remove that first turn of devastation, then things sort of grind down to sort of like, okay, and you may end up actually losing some fights that normally you would win just because of that one character for 75 points. Yeah, and he'll play that character like I told you to play the Sanguinary Priest. Like, you'll keep him out of combat, he'll be difficult for him to gauge into, he'll be hidden. So, yeah, okay, let's put some scores down. Objective holding with only 1 OBSEC unit has to be, I think I said 6.5. But it doesn't really matter because we know that we can win games without so much OBSEC at the moment. The clear for anti-horde, anti-infantry is going to be weak, right? Like, in terms of like your shooting output. So if you talk about, like, if this is a Death Guard player, let's say with 30 Poxwalkers in front of all those Terminators, or even 20 or even 10, like, I don't think you've got enough firepower to clear 10 Poxwalkers with just that one Redemptor. I guess the Whirlwind could shoot the Poxwalkers, but you kind of want the Whirlwind to be shooting things for suppression fire, so I think it's like it might even be like a 6-5 on anti-horde effectiveness. And I guess this is the ability to the shooting part of your anti-horde is probably a 6-5. I mean, you've got plenty of lightning claws in there, and you've got plenty of chain swords in there, so like maybe it's a 7 once you include the close combat. But you don't want those units to have to kill Poxwalkers, for example, right? Like, you want to have enough firepower in your list to clear off the Poxwalkers so you can actually charge and kill the difficult targets. And I mean, I guess for the most part, I think that's where Blood Angels are falling over a little bit in 9th edition. Like, I think I said this in a couple of my streams recently. Like, so this is very much what I would have been running in 8th edition, right? Like multiple squads of Death Company, multiple squads of Sanguinary Guard. And in 8th edition, I was fine, but in 8th edition, I was like a 50% win rate player. Maybe 55, maybe 60%. But in 9th edition, since I made the switch to include much more shooting, I've moved like way up, right? And I guess, like, if you look at the tournament lists, right? We looked at a tournament winning list 2 weeks ago or something, right? And the tournament winning list had 5 Inceptors and 6 Eradicators. So I think that was all the shooting it had. But I mean, 5 Inceptors is like, what, 275 points, 6 Eradicators, 300 points. So yeah, between 516 points of shooting is where we want to sit right now, I think. In this list, you've got 220 points of shooting. So, like I said, I wouldn't include the Whirlwind in the shooting. So I think you need to drop one squad and add something else that can blow out things. In doing so, will make your close combat units more effective, right? Because they will be able to get where they need to go, etc., and be able to charge the targets you need them to charge. Hey, Robin, how you doing? Anti-monster infantry list, or anti-monster infantry effectiveness. I've lost my tab now. I mean, tons of Infernal Pistols and Power Swords here, a good number of Lightning Claws, a very good number of Thunder Hammers, good number of Infernal Pistols on the Sanguinary Guard. I mean, Leviathan can chew things up with a drill. 2 of your characters actually can do very decent damage in close combat. So, I mean, anti-monsters is probably like a 9. Like, you can definitely kill monsters with this list. And mobility-wise for the list is very good as well. The Whirlwind is the only thing that's not going to be mobile, I suppose, apart from the Blade Guards, but they don't need to be. So, I think mobility is like an 8-5, close to a 9 again. And then Specialization. I think your Specialization is very good in terms of, like, you have the ability to make the enemy fight last. You have the ability to get those reroll charges and fight first. You have that Psychic Fortress aura, which I think provides a ton of value. And then I think we said you had 18 3-damage weapons as well. So I think your Specialization is generally really good. Like, I'd go even 9-5 on the Specialization. Like, I don't think you're too specialized in a single thing, but I do think that you may have some problems against horde-based lists. And I don't know why this is still showing last week's numbers. I mean, the OBSEC thing, you're going to score low because you've got one troop choice, but I don't think that matters. I think just the thing that matters to me is, like, I always tell people to run the lists once, right, before you go ahead and make changes. Yeah, it's been a little while, Robin. Yeah, and everything's fine, Marcel. Thanks for asking. So I'd probably run this list once against Death Guard, and I guess AdMech as well, and see if you feel like you're struggling a little bit in terms of being able to pick off enemies at range to open up the board to let other units get in close combat, because that's where I think the balance is right now. And hopefully we'll know very soon, because I think I'm going to be back playing Monday Night Live games next Monday night. So not tomorrow, but week Monday, I think we're returning to the table for live games. So that'll be pretty fun. But yeah, I mean, it's not a bad list. And I think maybe 6 months ago I would be playing a list similar to this. But like I said, when I was doing that, my win rate was much smaller than it is right now. So I think... I mean, I think that... I actually kind of think it's overkill to run Vanguard Veterans, Sanguinary Guard, and Death Company. Like, I think 2 of the 3 is good enough. And right now, I think Vanguard Veterans and Sanguinary Guard are stronger than Death Company. But I think in this list, you've got that 4th Terminators in as well. And the Terminator squad is very pricey at 200 points. Like, I think the Terminator squad could definitely be switched out for some really good fire support, be it Inceptors, be it Eradicators. That's essentially 4 heavy melta rifle Eradicators. You have a priest there. And here's something else to consider, right? For example, if your captain's starting on the board in any game, right? Who's your captain giving chapter master rerolls to? Oh no, he's not a chapter master. Sorry, my bad. Okay, but if your captain is starting on the board, is he going to be near any units for that rerolls 1 on the shooting? Because if like, you have nothing that's really going to benefit him, right? It's not going to benefit the Whirlwind. It's not going to benefit the Leviathan Dreadnought. Whereas if you did swap those out for, let's say, 3 attack bikes or 4 Eradicators, they would get good benefit out of that, right? Whereas right now, I guess if the captain's starting on the board, there's nothing you can really benefit. Anti-infantry score should be a little bit better due to chainsword attacks and Leviathan. Maybe. I mean, maybe I'm being a little bit harsh. I mean, sometimes week-to-week numbers can be a bit harsh. Maybe that could be a 7.5, but yeah, I think there is definitely an improvement to be made there somewhere, Steve, in terms of bringing a little bit more heavy firepower to the battle. And also, if the enemy's smart, right? We talk about Plague Burst Crawlers. If the enemy's going to scatter all their units around the Plague Burst Crawlers, and you're just going to take indirect fire from those Plague Burst Crawlers every turn, I forget off the top of my head, like the Plague Burst Crawlers indirect fire weapon, but it's pretty good, right? Yeah, it's like heavy D6 -2 damage, and it's a plague weapon, so he pretty much gets to reroll wounds on it, or reroll 1s on the wound roll rather. But it's strength 8. It's going to wound all of your guys on 2s, and he's going to reroll 1s. So pretty much everything that he hits with the Plague Burst Monster is going to take reasonably decent damage. And honestly, if I was a Death Guard player, I'd be playing with 3 of these. I think they're super strong, and that's before you even include the fact that they've got Entropy Cannons, which are basically las cannons again with the reroll 1s on the wounds. Again, they're going to wound you on 2s because of the contagions. So basically, it's almost going to be like auto-wounding las cannons, and it's got 2 of them. I don't care so much about the heavy slugger, but like, yeah, there's definitely... I think Plague Burst Crawlers are insane for their point cost right now. Considering we have to pay 125 points for a Whirlwind, these things, you're basically getting like 2 las cannons, a heavy stubber, and like slightly similar mortar and more toughness and more wounds and an invulnerable save for 40 points. It's not fair. How is that balanced? Like Space Marines, we normally have to pay, what is it, 20 points per las cannon? So by the time you add on the 2 las cannons, then you're getting basically the heavy slugger and the additional toughness and the additional wound and the 5+ invulnerable save and the -1 damage for free, right? Like, it's the Plague Burst Crawler is so efficient for the points cost. I think it could even be like 190 points and be balanced. 165, it's crazy. Captain Athena says, finally lost after 15 games, beat Dukari in a nail biter, but then the new AdMech, so many answers to everything, stacking defense layers is insane, damage output, prepare yourself for the madness. Was that the new AdMech Codex? Is that out already? I know it was up for pre-order, but I wasn't actually sure it was out yet. I know Andrew bought a copy of it and the Drukhari Codex for us to share and get all the juicy details, but okay. So yeah, I guess that's that first list, Steve. Hopefully we've said a few things that could maybe help you improve it. So okay, let's yeah, I noticed there had been some teasers. I think it's just up for pre-order. It's just strange that you said you'd played the new, unless like some streamers have been given the early access to the book. Sometimes that happens, and people can get a game up early or whatnot. Codex creep is real. Admech will be worse than Dark Eldar. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess Codex creep is real. I don't know what the hell they're going to do to Blood Angels to make us feel better. I think there should be... Well, one, I think we should get Primaris Dante, and two, I think we should get... I think we should get some sort of inherent bonus to all their jump pack units, because, you know, at the moment, personally, I actually prefer the captains on the bikes to the jump pack units. I'm sure you guys know this. I always talk about them. So to me, it feels like there should be some sort of inherent bonus for Blood Angels units that have jump packs to make us more competitive. That was like an additional attack to every Blood Angels unit that has a jump pack or something, you know? Right, rewrite our special characters and jump pack buffs, says Highland Phoenix. Yeah, I mean, use Space Marine Codex next year, almost guaranteed. Everything before Death Guard feels like a different edition of the game. Yeah, I mean, maybe our... Well, we just have to keep plugging away, I guess. Okay, so next up is list number 2, and this list is by Zacharis. And I think I saw Zacharis a couple of times in the chat already today, so hopefully if there's any questions, we can get them answered. Cool, so this is a Fresh Tearers list. Alright, nice. So something slightly different today then. So we have the Chaplain in Terminator armor. He has the Canticle of Hate. He has the Combi Melta. He's the Icon of the Angel. He has Iron Resolve. And he is honoured by the Arx Angelicum, I guess, to get the Icon of the Angel. I like this. I like the Crimson Plate a lot. Maybe you've got it elsewhere in your list, but I don't see too many people run the Crimson Plate. But I actually think it's... Hey, Zacharis. -1 to hit all Blood Angels and jump packs. Yeah, I could get on board with that. I mean... I guess giving him Iron Resolve is fine as well. And giving him that relic is... The Icon of the Angel is cool as well, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, Crimson Plate is a fun thing to have. We then have Seth, who obviously has this Chainsaw, the Blood Reaver, and... standard whatever else. Librarian with Quickening and Unleash Rage, and a Force Sword and Smite. This is a battalion, by the way, so we have the 3 Infiltrator squads, so like a ton of denial here. And one thing I think to say about Flesh Tearers is I actually think that Incursors combo really nicely with the Flesh Tearers because of the additional -1 to armor penetration you can get from 6s when you attack. So if anyone's not 100% clued up on the Flesh Tearers, their chapter rule is slightly different from the Red Thirst. So rather than getting the +1 to advance and charge rolls and the +1 to attack rolls, they basically get they get the same +1 to attacks when they make charge moves, but unmodified wound rolls of 6 improve the armor penetration of this by 1. So, like, if you had Incursors and you roll some 6s for their wound rolls, what you end up getting essentially is -2 AP. And I guess that means that later in the game with Incursors, you could potentially get -3 AP on their combat blades. Because it stacks with Assault Doctrine here, right? So, Infiltrators are good though. I mean, it's hard to argue with Infiltrators. They're really good at holding board positioning and balancing things out. And yeah, you'd have to remove the Icon of the Angel if you wanted the Crimson Plate. Just wait for the new Alpha Legion Codex with broken voodoo magics. Yeah, I mean, I guess everybody... I wonder what's going to happen to Thousand Suns, because they've been trash for a while. So I guess when they get a new codex, I guess we'll see as well if they're going top tier. So you're going to go Infiltrators for the Denial. Okay, we then have the Company Champion, and he cannot be overwatched, I believe, is what Creation Born is. He has the Blade of Triumph. He's a master-crafted power sword. I wonder... I mean, I guess that makes sense. So you have Icon of the Angel on the other guy, and then you have Creation Born, so that the enemy cannot shoot Overwatch against this champion when he charges in. Here's that Strength 7, -3 damage sword, which is pretty nice as well. And you've upgraded him to the Chapter Champion, so you get some more bonuses when he's fighting characters and stuff as well. We then have a large Death Company, and it's like 10 man with 1 Thunderhammer, 1 Infernal Pistol. We have a Tactical Warsuit with the twin Iron Hail autocannon. We have a 4-man Sanguinary Guard, 5-man Assault Terminators, and then 5 Vanguard Veterans with Lightning Claws and Storm Shields, Predator, Whirlwind, and then the Drop Pod. Okay. I wonder then if you need Creation Born on this guy, like maybe it would be better to give this guy that Chapter Master upgrade, Company Champion upgrade that gives you the aura of reroll charges, and then maybe if you did the aura of reroll charges, you could maybe drop Icon of Angel here, either give him Crimson Plight or Benediction of Fury to get him up to that 4 damage hammer. That might be interesting, because I mean, with the Whirlwind, you potentially don't need... what I'm trying to say, with the Whirlwind, you potentially don't need this guy to turn off Overwatch for you, because the Whirlwind can turn off the Overwatch. Hey, Hoggy Dog, how you doing? Good afternoon. Yeah, I was scrolling down this list expecting to see a drop pod. So in the drop pod, we probably have the 5 Vanguard Veterans with Lightning Claws and Storm Shields. We have the Company Champion. We have Seth. And probably the regular Librarian as well. Because I guess the Chaplain and Terminator armor won't fit in the drop pod, right? He'll arrive from Teleport Strike. Yeah, actually, if the Chaplain is going to arrive in Teleport Strike and the drop pod's going to arrive in turn 1, then the Chaplain's Icon of the Angel is not going to be that useful, so it might be better to get that upgrade to the Company Champion. What is that upgrade called again? That upgrade is called Martial Exemplar. That's the one. And it's basically just Icon of the Angel, right? Let me see if I can put it into frame. While a friendly core or character unit is within 6, you can reroll the charge rolls of that unit. Yeah, so I mean, I would probably switch that around, because I imagine if there's a space in the enemy's deployment zone and you can get down in turn 1, you want to get in on turn 1 with Seth, with the Vanguard Veterans, with the Company Champion, and you just want to get straight into their lines and start causing all sorts of ruckus, right? And you don't necessarily want to be restricted to waiting on turn 2, because it only be in turn 2 that you get all those rerollable charges, right? Oh, you overlooked that. Alright, cool. We're providing value. That's what we like to do. We like to provide value on this stream. Cool. Now, I would probably look at maybe dropping like 2 Death Company. I don't like 4-man Sanguinary Guards personally. I don't think they do enough work at 4-man. I like them in 7 to 9s, but I know you wanted to hold on to Infiltrators, but could you drop 1 Infiltrator squad to get like 15 points, 2 Death Company Marines to get another 50? That'd give you 65 points. That would let you add 2 more to the Sanguinary Guard. I feel like 6 Sanguinary Guard are infinitely better than 4. My experience is 4 usually bounce off opponents. You know, like they'll go in, they'll do a bit of damage, but the opponents will have enough alive to basically counter them. Whereas 6, they're gonna at least do enough that it's gonna then be sort of like a fair fight, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That would still leave you a 7-man Death Company squad. I then wonder maybe it might be worth keeping like the Death Company at 7, dropping this Infernal Pistol and putting in a second hammer, so it's like 2 hammers, 5 chainsword guys, and maybe drop one of the Infernal Pistols off this Sanguinary Guard. How many points? You're right on 2,000, okay. And then the Predator Annihilator. See, the other thing I would say is, like, I don't know, or I don't feel, maybe is a better way of saying it, that Predators or armor are the best options for us. Like, for 5 points more, we can get Redemptor Dreadnought, and yes, the Redemptor Dreadnought isn't going to have as much firepower as 4 las cannons, but I mean, las cannons are just, in my opinion, in 9th edition, they're so swingy, right? Like, so you've got 4 las cannons, and I guess you want to take out some sort of big enemy armor with them. I actually am curious to know if 4 las cannons perform worse than 3 attack bikes with multi-meltas. I feel like it's either feast or famine. Yeah, I guess. Probably you're right. It'll either do well or it'll do nothing. Because I was running the Relic Contemptors earlier this edition, you know, the Relic Contemptors with the double las cannons. And that was when the Relic Contemptors hit on 2s. And even then, I felt like they were swingy at best. I don't feel attack bikes with multi-meltas are nearly as swingy. I guess like it's just because it's more. You get 2 more shots, I guess. The attack bikes go really well with our armies too, you know, just because of their mobility and speed. And I guess if you don't have any chapter master rerolls close by or something, right, which you probably want because Seth will be in the drop pod, you can have the bikes as 3 individual bikes, right? Like they could be fast attack unit 1, 2, and 3. So no fire from the enemy splits over and hits different bikes. So you can basically force the enemy to kill the bikes one at a time and essentially waste shots. And obviously bikes don't get profiled like a Predator does. How many wounds does a Predator even need to lose to be profiled this edition? Predator. Because it's only got like 11 wounds, is it? Yeah, 11 wounds. So it loses 6 wounds and it's profiled on 4s, and then it loses 9 wounds, it's profiled down to 5s. Yeah, I mean the Predator yeah, and people are saying that like there's a reason all the pro players, or there's a reason all the top players are running Eradicators and attack bikes, right? They just math hammer so much better. And yeah, if you had 3 attack bikes as different units, you know, fast attack 1, 2, and 3, and they all just had the multi-melta and the Stormbolter, you'd actually be 5 points cheaper off. You're going to get 2 extra multi-melta shots over the las cannons. They're going to be less swingy, and you're also going to get how many bolters? 12 Stormbolter shots a turn as well. So they're going to be able to do a lot more damage. They're probably going to survive better as well because you've got them split into 3 squads, and if you lose 1 attack bike, or even if you lose 2, or if the enemy leaves one with 1 wound, there's no profile crap, right? So your attack bike can still move 14 inches on 1 wound, and it can still shoot both multi-meltas and all 4 bolter shots, you know, still hitting on 3s. But yeah, I ran 2 squads of Infiltrators for a while and felt like 2 squads of Infiltrators gave me like a huge amount of denial in terms of board control and deep strike. So I think 2 squads is fine. I would save some points here on this 3rd squad and either taking cursors, or I mean you could take assault intercessors or auto bolt rifle intercessors. I'd probably try and fit in cursors. Save 15 points there. I'd probably try and get another Thunderhammer into this group. Try and make that Sanguinary Guard a tiny bit bigger. And yeah, I mean, if it was me, I'd probably swap that Predator out for attack bikes. Another cool thing about attack bikes as well is I don't remember off the top of my head, but let me double check. they're like power level 1 or 2 or something. Does this website? Yeah, power level 2, right? So you can reserve all 3 attack bikes for 1 CP essentially. So if you want to keep your attack bikes off the table in turn 1 and wait till the enemy deploys, see where that big enemy threat is, and bring on all 3 attack bikes on the side of the board and shoot all the multi-meltas into, whatever it is, a tank, a dreadnought, whatever you're going to worry about. The fact that they're only 2 power level is pretty useful. I've actually previously reserved attack bikes and Redemptors before, with the idea of bringing the Redemptor on at the side of the board, popping 1 CP for Wisdom of the Ancients so we can reroll some hits, and then bring in all the attack bikes. Or do something random like a Deathstorm drop pod with Deathstorm missiles. I suppose you could do a drop pod, but I think attack bikes, to me, I just think they're great at the moment. Like, I love them. The mobility is also really nice as well for stuff like, getting a unit into the middle of the board with Oath of Moment. They also are good for engaging all fronts. And the attack bikes can fight back as well, right? Like, they do get 4 attacks per attack bike, so if the enemy does... If there's an easy charge to be made... you can all, if there's an enemy infantry with just a few wounds left and you have a couple of attack bikes around, you can charge them and you can probably reliably kill them because, 8 attacks from 2 attack bikes hitting on 3s probably wound enemy infantry on 3s or something. -1 once we get to the Salt Doctrine. -2 if you roll some 6s because you're Flesh Tearers. I think attack bikes are a lot better than the Predator. I have 4 Predators. I've got 2 Ball Predators and I've got 4 Predators, 2 Ball Predators, and I've got 2 regular Predators. One with the twin las cannons on top and sides, and one with the auto cannon on top and sides. I don't run any of them. I haven't run any of them in 9th edition. I don't think they're costed right. They're 5 points more expensive than a Plague Burst Crawler. I would like to do the math actually. A Predator versus a Plague Burst Crawler. And see who comes out on top, because I'm 100% sure it's going to be the Plague Burst Crawler. And the Predator is going to be 5 points more expensive. It's ridiculous. Okay. And yeah, do you know what? Highland Phoenix is probably right. Do we know what attack bikes are running price on eBay right now? They're in stock on Element Games. I saw them earlier, right? Attack bikes. Element Games have 10 of them in stock right now, so that seems like an okay price. I'm not sure if where are you located, Zacharias? Like, which country? No. US. Okay, I don't. I've actually looked for a US affiliate for a while, but I haven't found too many good ones, unfortunately. The UK is just teeming with affiliates that do GW products, but America seems a bit more difficult. The moment when attack bikes will get the Primaris upgrade, GW will lose any sales on Eradicators. It's. Hey Camille, how you doing? It's difficult, I guess, if some of the regions may be still having problems with stock and stuff from coronavirus, but attack bikes are hard to argue with. Definitely better than a Predator, I feel like. Okay, so let's think about this. So we've got 3. We'll score what you have at the moment, and then I guess you can think about what tweaks you want to make. Objective holding with 3 Phobos troops and a Whirlwind. Like, I think it has to be like a 9/5. Like, you can definitely zone a lot of the map, and you can hold on to a lot of stuff. In terms of like anti-chaff firepower, it's a bit weaker. I mean, infiltrators, I guess, can kill some chaff units, and then we have a few. We have very few bolters here. The tactical war suit can do a little bit of killing. I'd say that. Yeah, I mean, the Predator isn't. You're not going to want to kill chaff with it. This list might be a little bit light on shooting for my liking as well, but I guess if we compare it to the last list, it's probably similar, like 7-5. So we can mop up enemies with like lightning claws and stuff and chain swords, but ideally we don't want to. We want something that can shoot some of them off the table. How many CP are you starting this list with? 9. And how many elite choices have you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Damn it. Actually, hold on a second. You've got Seth though here, right? There was a bit of debate about this before. If you made these Vanguard veterans into company veterans, right? If you made them into company veterans, you can take them for free, right? Because your company. How is it that you take them for free? It's if you have a captain or a chapter master. Let me double check this. I remember looking at this text before, and it's kind of confusing. Company champion you are running says, command squad for each company veterans included in a detachment. One company champion unit can be included in the detachment without taking a battlefield role. Right. So if we include company veterans, you can take the champion for free, and then the veterans say if a detachment contains a captain, then one company veteran squads can be included in this detachment without taking out a battlefield role. Does Seth count as a captain? No. Seriously? He just has the chapter master keyword? So hold on, if you upgrade a captain to a chapter master, does he retains the captain keyword, I'm sure of it. But are the named characters don't have the captain thing? Is that how that works? That seems a bit counterproductive. I'm sure the text on the upgrade says, where is it? Each time you upgrade one of the aforementioned units, it gains a new keyword as shown in the chapter command keyword column of the table on the right. It also gains the abilities. Oh, that's stupid. Is that right? A generic captain keeps the captain keyword if you upgrade him to chapter master, but yeah, the named chapter masters don't get the captain keyword? Okay, that's stupid. Alright, because that was my idea, was that you could take your company veterans and your company champion for free because you have a captain in your detachment, which technically you do have, but I mean, I guess Games Workshop. Okay, named characters aren't captains. Sorry about that. Yeah, that makes it tricky. So the only way you could drop a troop choice then, I guess, would be to go the patrol and Vanguard, the same thing that we're all running, which eats up 3 CP. Well, think about that, I guess. Like, that is a way that you could take the list you could lose some CP, but you could bring some more anti-chaff firepower into the list, which might help you out, you know? I mean, if anything, the one thing to talk about, though, is your attack bikes are going to bring 12 bolter shots, 12 storm bolter shots. And now, I know storm bolter shots aren't amazing, but if we add 12 storm bolter shots for the entire game, it does work out as 60 storm bolter shots, you know? So that can help you as well. Yeah, I mean, he has the free chapter master included, but he doesn't have the captain keyword, which is stupid, I guess. Okay, anti-vehicle / monsters in this list. What we got again? We've got the Infernal Pistols, we've got a load of Lightning Claws, we've a few Thunder Hammers. I guess we got the Fist on the Warsuit, we have Seth, we have that Champion, we have the Librarian, and then I guess we've got the Predator as well, if we had it. So maybe like 8.5, I would guess. I would have liked to see some more of the Sanguinary Guard. And it's tricky because 3 troop choices, like, I guess, yeah, I really think one of these troop choices should be incursors. Mobility wise, overall the mobility is pretty good. I'd say it's like an 8, slightly less than the last list, but I guess only slightly less because I guess we've got Librarian that's on foot slogging, Infiltrators potentially. But, it's very similar. And then Specialization. How many 3 damage weapons was in this list? So we've got the 4 las cannons. We've got the 2 Infernal Pistols. That gives us 6. We've got the Warsuit's Fist. That gives us 7. Thunderhammer Infernal Pistol here. That gives us 9. 10 from the Blade of Triumph. 11 from the Librarian, but I mean, we do have some other things that are going to be pretty useful, like the Seth attacking twice, that sort of thing. I think it's like an 8.5 here from Specialization. I think I just don't like the Predator. Seth's Blade is Seth's Blade 3 damage, is it? Oh shit, okay. Then maybe we'll go 9 because I actually didn't realise Seth's Blade's 3 damage. Wow. And how many attacks does Seth get again? It's like... Oh, and he also gives everybody around him an increased damage of 1 on rolls of 6s as well, doesn't he? And he can fight twice. Then let's put that back to the 9. There's going to be the drop pod coming down in a good position and making a bunch of charges is going to be core in this list. If this happens, then you're going to be in a great position. The one issue I have with Seth fighting twice is if him and his squad wipe out what they charged, then obviously, like, he can consolidate into another unit, right? But he wouldn't be able to fight that other unit because he didn't charge them, right? So if Seth and the Vanguard veterans or the company veterans, whatever, if they wipe out a whole squad of enemies and they consolidate into another squad, then they're stuck, right? Seth can't fight them again, which I guess is kind of a drawback. So it's going to be a weird one because you would imagine that Seth and a shitload of lightning claws that can potentially do 2 damage will kill just about anything that they end up into combat with. I thought they would kill most things when it was 2 damage, but at 3 damage, yeah, I'm guessing he's killing most things. Yeah, that's a tough one, actually. Okay, yeah, so I think 42.5, and I think that's a very respectable score, and I actually think there's a few tweaks that we went over here that could make this list quite a bit stronger. So yeah, I think it's a cool list, and I kind of like seeing the Flesh Tearers lists now and again. I do sometimes think that maybe I'll run a Flesh Tearers army or a detach, because I'm not using any named characters. So I'm including Gabriel Seth and 2 Librarian Dreadnoughts. One is Chief Librarian and one is the Warlord. Yeah, I mean, I guess like I like seeing the Flesh Tearers list, and I do think that they are pretty competitive. And they definitely have that sort of Alpha Strike feeling to them, like maybe a little bit more than the Blood Angels. Alright, cool, Zacharis. Hopefully we gave you some cool advice. Let me boot up list number 3 then today. And this list is going to be by Adam Stevens, number 3. And yeah, at the end of the stream, guys, I always put all the lists into the comments. So if anyone wants to check out any of the lists that we talked about, You can grab them from the comment section after the stream. And yeah, I probably should have said at the start, if you want to submit your list for a future review, you go to Blood Angels Commander YouTube channel, which we'll just throw into the chat right now, and just go to that page, click over on community, and then just in the latest community post, it doesn't matter what the latest community post is, just the latest one you see, just please post your list in as a comment and we'll get to it and we'll add it to the review queue. Good evening, Big Chief. How are you doing? How are you fitting the Primaris units in the list without annoying Seth? Well, I guess lower problems aside, it's a cool list. Well done, Zacharias. Excuse me, I'm so gassy today. Alright, love having a good sit down and painting up models while hearing pointers on my Blood Angels. Would like to hear your suggestions on this list, says Adam Stevens. Alright, Adam. And this is a 2,000 point list starting with 7 CP, and it is where does it say? I'm missing detachment. I'm assuming it's a battalion. Yes, sorry, battalion up here. Just woke up. Welcome. Good morning then. Happy Sunday. Hope you've got a good day planned ahead of you. Right, so, and we have one extra relic in this list. So we start with a Primaris Chapter Master. We don't see this too often. Artisan of War, Gift of Foresight, Adamantium Mantle, and Armor Indomitus. And he has a Mastercrafted Power Sword and the Relic Shield. Wow, okay. Some overlap here, I feel like, because this Relic Shield gives you a 4+ against mortal wounds, right? So I don't know if you really need to take both the Relic Shield and Armor Indomitus, but the Relic Shield doesn't protect against, it just protects more. So you've got like crazy good mortal wound protection. I have to find this captain 1 second. Primaris Captain, Relic Shield. Add 1 to saving throws. Mortal wounds. Yeah, so you've got a 4+ against mortal wounds. You've got a 5+ against all others. I prefer giving him Artificer Armor over Armor Indomitus. I prefer the toughness, giving him that extra toughness over just the additional wound and the 3+ save for a single phase. I think the extra toughness helps a lot throughout the battle, even more so against Death Guard. I appreciate the help in making it better. I need to get 2 more bikes and replace the Predator. I will start here and replace the Infiltrator squad and adjust the numbers to include 2 more Sanguinary Guard. Nice, man. I think that list is going to have some real teeth once you make some tweaks to it. So yeah, I guess, as I always say, like, play the list once or something, then try and make some of the tweaks that I suggested and play it again and see if it feels better. And if it doesn't feel better, then come back and submit another list to me and tell me why it doesn't feel better. But yeah, no, hopefully we add some help or add some value to it. So I prefer Angel's Artifice on the Chapter Master. It gives +1 toughness, +1 wound, and a 2+ save. I guess with that Relic Shield, that would put this guy on a 1+ save. So you'd have a 1+ save, a 4+ invulnerable save, a 5+ feel no pain, and a 4+ against mortal wounds. So arguably a very survivable Chapter Master. We then have our Sanguinary Priest with the Teeth of Terra, and I mean, I talk about this a lot. I don't think you need to put Teeth of Terra on the Sanguinary Priest. He should never be in combat. So he only goes in combat at the very end of the game if there's something that he thinks he can kill. In my opinion, the Sanguiner, do you know what? I used to love the Sanguiner. Maybe I need to do a video on him at some point. I don't run him so often myself anymore, but that's fine. We then have four squads of 5-man assault intercessors and 2 infiltrator squads. So I mean, a shitload of OBSEC and a lot of assault intercessors. Just want to point out that, like, there's a reason troops are called troops, right? And elites are called elites. And the reason is that elites do a lot more killing and generally are more survivable than troops, I feel like. So I'm not sure 4 squads of assault intercessors is the right choice. If you want to run lots of assault intercessors, I would run 1 in a 10-man squad so you could get maximum value out of Honor of the Chapter. But 4 5-man, I think the 200 points could probably definitely be spent elsewhere on better things. 5 Blade Guard veterans, and I assume they're to hold the middle of the board or something. The captain's armed with the sergeant's armed with Archangel Shield. We have a Leviathan Dreadnought with the Grav Flux and the Storm Cannon and the Volkites, so basically like a shooting Leviathan Dreadnought. We then have 2, 4, 6, 8 Sanguinary Guard with swords, and then 6 Outriders, and that sort of rounds out the list. My opinion of Outriders is that they're overrated and they're overcosted, and I don't think they're so strong. Put 1 in the chat if you think Outriders are a good unit currently, and put 2 in the chat if you think they're bad. And let's see what the community think of Outriders real quick. But let's have a look then at things that we could maybe improve. So we are light on shooting in this list. You know, we talk a lot about having a good amount of shooting. So we're light on shooting. I mean, Outriders, I guess, can shoot a little bit, but do you know what? As the general consensus is coming in on the chat, one person has given Outriders a 1 for 1 turn, and everybody else at the moment, the Outriders are outnumbered pretty badly, 2-1. Mike says they're good for conversions. You are 100% right, Mike. They're definitely good for conversions. You make a wicked chapter master on a bike. You can make a wicked Primaris chaplain on a bike. They need more punch, says Big Chief, not just chainswords. I agree with that 100%. I think if Outriders had some weapon options, they might have been a bit more viable, you know? So, okay. So we don't like the Outriders. And I don't like this many Assault Intercessors. And like I said, I'd probably be fine adding 1 squad of 10 if you have the sole purpose of, like, I have this one big squad of 10 Assault Intercessors that I plan on using Honor the Chapter on to get a ton of value out of. But, you know, no Vanguard Veterans in this list with jump packs. A little bit light on shooting. No Librarian, I guess, so we can't use Veil of Time or Psychic Fortress. No Whirlwind, so we can't use the Suppression Fire to make enemies fight last. It's a rough one. And yeah, I think if this was, again, this feels a little bit 8th edition, maybe just too much focus on troops. And then, yeah, I mean, 300 points Outriders. I think you could do a lot more. I think I need to make a video on, like, 6 Outriders against, so that's 300 points against, let's say, like a 300 point squad of Vanguard Veterans. And I reckon the Vanguard Veterans would wipe the floor with them. I guess I need to check it and, like, make it happen. But Outriders for me, like, I have 9 of them, I think, and 3 of them got half painted and then they got benched. And again, I've got Assault Intercessors and I've actually got them fully painted and they sit in a drawer and they never appear on the battlefield. And yeah, I mean, the one squad of Assault Intercessors that could be combat squadded, like Highland's talking about, is pretty interesting. But yeah, I'd save 200 points in these Assault Intercessors. So you've got 500 points to play with if you drop the Outriders and 2 squads of Assault Intercessors, just under 500 points. That's another Dreadnought. That's 3 attack bikes with multi-meltas, and you still have like 150 points in there for like a 5-man Vanguard Veteran squad, or the Whirlwind, or some combination of the above. So I think there's loads of improvements that could be done here. Assault Intercessors trade way better than the new meta stuff, than the Blood Angels expensive stuff. Sisters, Death Guard, Admech, they can all kill Sanguinary Guard and Vanguard no problem, so they're good output for less points to die anyway. They protect your drawer throw. Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right, Fury, and they protect the drawer. Adjusted the list, still 2k on the money. Shopping cart is being worked on now. Yeah, I mean, Assault Intercessors can probably trade reasonably well. You're probably right, Captain. But they're not mobile, right? And I guess that's the big thing about the Sanguinary Guard and the Vanguard Veterans. And here's the deal, right? Like, in my list, I pretty much will never let the enemy charge my Sanguinary Guard or my Vanguard Veterans. I will choose who's doing the charging. I'm trying to think back to all the games that I've played recently. Like, did the enemies ever get to charge my Sanguinary Guard? I don't think they did. I mean, if you watch my battle reports, sure, I play them super defensively for like turn 1 or turn 2. But what it means is when we actually get that leap in power, which the power spike is real, by the way. The power spike Blood Angels get in turn 3 is 100% real. If you go back and watch any of the battle reports that I play, you'll see me do like very little scoring in turn 1 and turn 2, and then turn 3 it's like boom, we're 30 points behind, we're suddenly right back in the game. I think against Sisters, against one of the, I think it was Sisters of Battle, I think it was turn 4 or something, we're 35 points behind, and it was like bang, right, one turn, we're right back in the game now. We've got those power spikes because we defend our really powerful units, and I think that's how we've got to play those powerful units at the moment, right? Like you said, Vanguard Veterans or Sanguinary Guard for one, they don't survive. I was reading a comment on Facebook last night, actually, by Chris Chance in one of the other Blood Angels groups, and he was saying that he played against someone, he played Blood Angels versus Blood Angels, and the army he played up against had like 27 Sanguinary Guard in it or something, and like he basically tabled the guy in turn 2 or something. The guy was also running the Sanguinary Ancient as well, because that tactic it's an 8th edition tactic that just doesn't work anymore, in my opinion. You cannot run, if you're going to run Sanguinary Guard, don't survive. You're right on that. They need to be hidden. They need to be played defensively, and then they need to pop out only when you can guarantee the charge. Right? Like, they are amazing if they charge, but they're not amazing in any other situation, and they still die fairly easily now. There's a lot of big AP weapons on the boards now, and I guess in one of the games against the Sisters of Battle, because I played them a couple of times, I actually had Sanguinary Guard sit in a ruin in my deployment zone, I think for 3 or 4 turns. And I was really thinking during the game, like, this is maybe the wrong call, like maybe I'm playing it too defensively. But at the end of the game, when I really needed that damage output, out come the Sanguinary Guard and deal a ton of damage, and, we win the game. So, I mean, I guess they are probably faster than us, but I mean, I guess it's up to you to to play around that. And I play Sisters of Battle pretty much every week, or maybe not every week, but every month, right? And Andrew's been working now for a while on improving his Sisters of Battle and making a Sisters of Battle list, and he has. I'm actually working on a battle report that's either going to go live probably go live on Tuesday night, to be honest. And it's a game against Sisters of Battle where there's a load of, like, he's got 2 rhinos full of Repentia, He's got 2 squads of Zephyrin, 10 mans. He's got a squad of Seraphim, like 5 man. He's got those new Infernal multi-melta tanks, each full of Retributors with multi-meltas. Like, I think it's a really strong Sisters list, and I mean, I can share the list if you haven't seen it. And I think that the thing about the Sisters, right, is they can guarantee they can guarantee a 12-inch charge if they want, right, with the Miracle Dice. And that list had Synth Catherine in it as well, right? So he's got basically unlimited Miracle Dice to do whatever he wants all the time, right? And I think I think at the end of the game, I think I still had my full Sanguinary Guard alive, like all 8 of them. Like, maybe I rezzed one of them with the Priest or something, but like we play them defensively and we try and choose the engagements, and I think that's how you have to use those units. Would you recommend using Sanguinary Guard for Deep Strike? I 100% do not use them for Deep Strike, casual gamer. Like, I never. Like, if they deep strike in and they fail their charge, then they're super exposed and they will be shot off the table fairly easily. I don't think that they. I don't think that they particularly. They're not a particularly survivable unit. Even in cover, they're not that particularly survivable, right? So I guess that's that's that. The only reason I would use Sanguinary Guard with Librarian to take out a high value target with Null Zone. Yeah, I mean, I like Sanguinary Guard a lot, also because they can do that 6-inch heroic intervention, and sometimes that can be really clutch if you've got them positioned right. But yeah, I mean, I guess we're a little bit off topic here. I do think that Vanguard veterans with Lightning Claws are very good right now, and I do not agree, I guess, with quite so many Assault Intercessors. So let me do some scoring on here. I mean, with 6 troop choices, I guess, and 2 Infiltrator squads, we'll give him... I don't know if we've ever seen 6 troop choices. I guess we'll give him 10 for OBSEC. He could definitely OBSEC some objectives with 6 troop choices. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Anti-infantry, I guess he's got a little bit of shooting in the Leviathan, a little bit of shooting in the Outriders, a bit of shooting with the Sanguinary Guard. I guess, I mean, bolt pistols, he's got 20 of them. I mean, it's still 20 bolt pistols. So, I guess, like, anti-horde is maybe like an 8.5. Like, we don't really have, like, any assault cannons or anything like that, but we can... So maybe anti-horde is maybe even a 9 if you just throw all those chain swords from the assault intercessors into them. Anti-monster vehicle effectiveness. How many 2 damage or more weapons do we have? 3 damage or more. We've got the Grav Flux. And that's it. So we've got 1 3 damage weapon in this list, so I have an issue with that, especially if you're going to come up against Death Guard, you're going to have some real problems. And with only 1 3 damage weapon, and the Leviathan doesn't have a fist or a drill either, against enemy armor you might have some trouble here. I mean, there's a lot of chainswords, but chainswords aren't exactly the best for dealing with armor, are they? So like 7.5. Mobility is kind of poorer as well, just because we have so many troops that are going to be on the move. So maybe like 7 on the mobility? Oh, thanks very much, Big Chief. $2 in the super chat. Appreciate that. The only Zephyrin squad can drop in where your Sanguinary Guard are hiding and erase them. I mean, they can if you've got nothing else screening, right? So, like, I guess you have to screen... Like, I would screen the Sanguinary Guard so that there is no position that they can be dropped in and charged. And I mean, I guess that's kind of why I had them hide in a building against the Sisters for, like... I think both games against the buildings... both games I recently beat the Sisters in, I had them hide in a building for multiple turns. Do you know... Like I said, I have... Hey Top Table Chuck, thanks for subscribing. I have started working on this video, right? Maybe I can show you a screenshot from the game. I have a screenshot of deployment, right? Like, the whole Sanguinary Guard were in this building in the deployment, right? So, like, they're obscured from everything. They are close to the enemy, so, like, they could make a 12-inch charge to the middle of the board, I guess, from here. Make, like, a 12-inch charge, probably... Or, sorry, they could fly 12 inches to probably, like, the middle of the board and then go. And then, like, if we look at, like, let's say, turn 2 or something, like, in my movement phase, so I have units pretty much everywhere. So, like, I mean, I guess he could have maybe dropped... It was this... Yeah, so on this turn... The Sanguinary Guard have like a squad of Centurions in front of them. On this side of them, down here, there was like attack bikes. There's a Dreadnought here, there's a Dreadnought here. So like there's literally nowhere that he can... If he's going to deep strike, there's no charge opportunity against that Sanguinary Guard that are hiding in this building. And I did that strategy kind of against him both times, where my Sanguinary Guard were completely obscured. But it's easy for me to make a charge, right? I can jump out 12 inches and charge just about anything I want. I could make a turn 1 charge if I want to. But I want to lure him in a little bit, get him to put down some of these other units on the board. And I think when he brought in the Zephyrim on this game, he had to bring them in up on that side and down on this side, because like there wasn't much other options. And when he brought them in to charge other targets, then I will countercharge them with Sanguinary Guard. And that's 100% how I would recommend you try and use Sanguinary Guard. And yeah, it feels wrong to have them so hidden and defensive, but I mean, I guess it's working for me, I guess, right? And then finally, we only have one 3 damage weapon. We have no way to suppression fire. We have no librarian for like Psychic Fortress or Null Zone. We've got a bunch of foot slogging units. I think that it's like a 6 or maybe like a 6. Like, it's got good OBSEC and it's got some good anti-infantry, and then I think it's weak against most other things. I think this list would really struggle against Toughness 5 Death Guard. Like, I don't know if Assault Intercessors really kill Plague Marines, do they? I mean, you can probably work it out, right? Like, so Assault Intercessors get like 26 attacks on turn 3. They charge, so they hit on 3s. They get 17 hits. They're only going to wound Plague Marines on 4s. They're only going to make... The Plague Marines are only going to fail on 4s, probably. So yeah, you're going to kill, like, a 5-man squad of Assault Intercessors charging Plague Marines is going to kill, like, 1 Marine and do 1 wound to another model. So... yeah, I think the Outriders have got to go, or some of the Assault Marines have to go, and I mean, I guess this is probably why I recommend just one squad of Sanguinary Guard, right? Because you have to protect the Sanguinary Guard. You cannot, as Athena says, you cannot let the enemy shoot or charge your Sanguinary Guard. They aren't survivable like they used to be, right? Like, there was a time when Sanguinary Guard first got released and they had a 2+ save, and we were like, oh my god, these guys are unkillable, like 2-up save, this is amazing. I mean, that doesn't exist anymore. The Sanguinary Guard need to be hidden. They need to be the ones dictating whether they get charged or not. Okay, so I think 39.5, but I actually think this is a bit of a weaker list. I mean, it scored okay because it had good OBSEC and good anti-horde, but I do think it is a weaker list. And I think hopefully we've made some suggestions on how it could be improved a bit. Okay, I've lost my folder with all my lists in it. Next up then is Mika... Mika. I'm not going to try and say your last name, Mika. Michaela, maybe? Sorry if I said that wrong. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I honestly thought that, like, you know, because Sanguinary Guard used to have the Death Mask, which was arguably kind of useless. And they gave them -1 to hit in melee, which is okay, but, like... I don't think it's enough, right? Like, I think that we'd have been better off just getting some sort of invulnerable save. The -1 to hit, I guess, is kind of situational. With you know, so many rerolls and stuff kicking around now, I think that giving them an invulnerable save would have been better, I think. Or an additional wound. I think at the beginning of 9th edition, a lot of us talked about... we were excited that Sanguinary Guard might get 3 wounds like Terminators, because if you think back, Terminators had the 2+ save and 2 wounds, and we knew they were getting 3 wounds, and we're all like, wow, if Sanguinary Guard got 3 wounds, then that would be great, yeah? But I guess that never happened. Or -1 to wound, yeah, I agree. And do you know, I am trying to make Andrew a better player, Captain, and I have told him to, like, he is going to focus on his sisters list, and he is going to take that sisters list to a tournament, because we're going to a triples tournament in September, and Andrew and Colin are my team for the triples tournament. Obviously, Colin playing his Death Guard, Andrew playing his sisters. So I'm going to try and help them and get better, and maybe they'll get to a point where they are beating me, and there's nothing I can do because their armies are stronger than mine. But you know, I'll continue to fight the good fight, I guess, for the Blood Angels. Alright, for the army list show. Sorry, this is a long one, but I wanted you to have some background on why I chose what I chose, so I have a long explanation after the list because I've put very much thought into this. I haven't played with this lit yet because half the models are unfinished, and I want to play with the fully painted models, but I do think the list has potential. Okay, so it's 1900 points, this list, and I assume it's a battalion. He hasn't said, but I'm assuming it's a battalion. Alright, so Librarian and Phobos armor with Shrouding, Lord of Deceit, and Temporal Corridor. I have no idea what... I think Shrouding means you can't shoot the enemy. Shrouding means... Let me just put the other camera on so you can actually see what I'm looking at. Shrouding... if manifested, select one Phobos unit with an 18 until the start of the next psychic phase unless he's the closest target, right? So they can't shoot the closest target. And Temporal Corridor, this unit cannot shoot or fight this turn. What? Select one Phobos unit. That unit is not within engagement of range. It can either make a normal move or an advanced move as if it were a movement phase. If it advances, do not make an advance roll instead until the end of the phase at 6. So the unit cannot shoot or fight, but it can basically move twice? Is that what it is? Strange. I have never used Temporal Corridor. Okay. I think 3 wounds in the -1 to hit period, not just in combat, would be good for the Sanguinary Guard. 5+ like Terminators, Crux Terminatus, says Big Chief. Yeah, I mean, a 5+ on them would probably be just all they need to make them good. So at least they're getting some sort of save, I guess, in tough situations. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to do well at the tournament that we'll go to, even if Blood Angels are bottom of tier 2 or whatever Goonhammer says. I think we can. And I am making a new list. I don't know if you were here the other night, maybe you were. So my new list is like pretty close to being ready. So hopefully my new list is going to be stronger than the 11-0 list that we just had. So I'm hoping that it'll be good for like tournament play or something like that. Alright, so we've got Librarian with Lord of Deceit. Lord of Deceit lets you redeploy your Phobos units, up to 3 of them. And the Librarian is obviously wearing Artificer armor. Again, I think I prefer armor Indomitus, but that's just my personal choice. We have a Lieutenant with Icon of the Angel and a jump pack and a pair of Lightning Claws. We have a Primaris Lieutenant. Alright, this isn't going to be a battalion because he's got 4 HQ here. Who's gifted Foresight and Visage of Death, and he is the Lieutenant from the Indomitus box with the powers, the Storm Shield and the pistol. And then we have the Priest. Alright, so the Priest has armor Indomitus, and also Rites of War, and is a Selfless Healer, and is the Warlord. Okay. Troop-wise, we have Incursors, Intercessors. So I guess this is like a battalion and a patrol or something. Elite-wise, 2, 4, 6, 7 Death Company with Chainswords, 3 with Infernal Pistols and Power Fists. And I actually think Infernal Pistols and Power Fists is actually okay on the Death Company. Like, a lot of people prefer Thunderhammers, right? And an Infernal Pistol and the Power Fist is the same 15 points. Now, the reason I think this is okay is because although you can lose a lot of Death Company in a single turn, you're probably not going to lose all 10 of them. Maybe you lose 7 of them. So the 3 that survive are the ones with Infernal Pistols and Power Fists. So in the following turn, obviously the Power Fist didn't do as much damage as the Thunderhammers when they charged, but in the following turn you get to shoot 3 Infernal Pistols at point blank range. Potentially that's 24 damage, with a little bit of luck with your rolls. So I actually think the Infernal Pistols here is okay. We then have Sanguinary Guard, and it's 5 with swords and another 5 with swords. Vanguard Veterans with Power Fist, Storm Shield, a bunch with double Chainsword, and another one with Power Fist. Storm Shield, I mean, the one thing that I am a little bit worried about is 3 damage weapons as we move through this. We have an Attack Bite with Heavy Bolter. We then have Eradicators with the Melta Rifles times 2. The question will be with your tournament list not being until the autumn. The Codex creep would concern me if nothing else comes out for Blood Angels. The 2 lieutenants only use 1 slot, says Exo7. Thank you, that's correct, yes. Lieutenants do actually, you can take a pair of lieutenants for just 1 HQ slot. Okay. But we do have 5 squads of troops, and I do think that's too many, right? Like, I've had more success with less troops in 9th edition. I think having more killy units over the troops is the better call here. Okay. In general, in secondaries, I would take at least banners and engage on all fronts with this army because they focus heavily on moving up and taking objectives and holding them. I designed that all units and characters are expendable and cheap, still fulfilling the role that I use them for. I mean, expendable and cheap is fine, but at the same time, you don't want units to bounce off enemies and not do the damage they need. Only Death Company is expensive, but all their units are 100, 200 points. I'm not sure I go with this idea of like making all your units cheap and expendable. Some of them, yes. Sure, I understand that, but like some of your best units, like you need to have some really strong units in your list. And like we just talked about for 10 minutes, I protect my Sanguinary Guard, possibly overprotect them, but it means that at the end of the game, when I need strong units to get around, like I think in that game against Andrew and his sisters, I killed St. Catherine from full health in a single turn with just the Sanguinary Guard, and that was like turn 4, I think. So like the Sanguinary Guard were super defensive for like 2 or 3 turns, then they jump out, mopped up a squad of Redemptor, killed St. Catherine, and then just mopped up the rest of the board, and it kind of won the game. So, I guess we'll see. Only Power Fist scattered around. And yeah, I mean, only Power Fist scattered around is fine, but when you're only doing 2 damage, that can be concerning against armies like Death Guard or Dreadnought heavy armors. Buying Cursors and Phobos Librarians, I mean, it's obviously... Incursors are very good at natural infiltrators, and you can use the Lord of Deceit to redeploy them. If I go first, I either move them onto the objectives or move them 9 inches away from the shooty enemy units. Remember, when you do redeploy them from Lord of Deceit, you can't redeploy them into concealed positions. If you redeploy them, they need to go into reserve or they need to come back into your own deployment zone. I try and keep the Librarian in the middle behind them to use Temporal Corridor if I need to relocate any of them faster. I Shroud them to protect any of them to keep them and the objectives in case my jump back units are ahead of the range shots. Next is Intercessors, Eradicators, and Lieutenant. Intercessors, Eradicators could be grouped into 2+2 pairs and move up the edges of the board, giving range support. Eradicators could be focused to attack bigger, harder targets with melt rifles, while 1 or 2 Intercessor squads supporting them, and the Lieutenant to give them reroll wounds. The Lieutenants can support Intercessors going forward to steal an objective with the Visage of Death or to give rerolls to Eradicators. And if needed, Lieutenants can take some hits with the shield when applying Angel Sacrifice to keep the Intercessors on the objective. I suppose that's a good point. You could use Lieutenants sort of as bait, I guess. Intercessors can also advance to objectives previously held by the Incursors that might move up close. First on the Sergeants, in case of anything stronger need to be dealt with in close combat while moving up. Could also leave Eradicators to reserve to wait for screens to clear bigger threats, but I'd rather use the CP and others. I don't think you need to reserve Eradicators personally. I think Eradicators are probably fine to start on the board. Start them in cover. They're on a 2+ save and you can make it better. You can transhuman them as well. Death Company can be moved up with Forlorn Fury and movement phase, hopefully into charging distance of going first, or move to safety closer to the middle objectives of going second. Incursors will hopefully give a bit of screen to the Death Company since they're already up in the opponent's face after using the Lord of Deceit. Well, I mean, be careful with that. Like I said, Lord of Deceit doesn't let you deploy into concealed positions again. Fists for a few of them for more hitting power, and Infernals in case they're range of some tankier units. 10 Death Company because I want them up in the enemy's face, and it will be a meat shield with basic bolt pistols and chainswords. The Sanguinary Priest and Sanguinary Guard will be a fast moving blob, naturally taking up important objectives. He also had Rites of War in there, which I think is overkill. I think when we did the video a few weeks back, we said Visage of Death or Rites of War. There's probably no reason to have both. You probably get like 10 for OBSEC here, but you don't need that much on OBSEC. You need like an 8. Also, Chief of Apothecary and Selfless Healer for bringing people back to life. Jump Pack Lieutenant and the Vanguard Veterans will most likely be in reserve. Lieutenant will give rerolls on the charges to any of the Jump Pack units. Double Chainswords giving attacks against hordes. Fists giving some power when tankier units. And then some shields to take some damage. My attack bike is my lone wolf that is a cheap 45-point model to leave behind in the backfield, but if I need it to zoom fast onto some other objective, thank you in advance. I'm very happy to hear feedback. Okay, holy shit, that was a lot. Hi John, love your videos. What is the waiting list looking like right now? Let me double check. It's actually probably not as bad as it. At one point we were on like a 10-week waiting list. I think if you submit your list today, we're on like a 6-week waiting list for non-members. I think the list for members right now is basically 2 weeks. But I guess if members don't submit lists, then some of the non-member lists will filter forward. So it might not be as long as 6 weeks. It just depends. The way I do it is I always put 3 non-member lists down every week and leave a couple of spaces in case I get submissions from members. But if I don't get them, then I'll bump up some of the other non-member lists. Alright, so this is a very different list. We've got the 5 troop choices. And let's just start there. We've got 5 troop choices and Visage of Death. I've put the wrong name in here. Have I? Oh, did I not update all the names? Apparently not. It was Adam we did last, wasn't it? Yeah, okay. So this is supposed to be... Right, we're doing Mika's list here. So he's going to get 10 for OBSEC. I mean, 5 troop choices. What was it? Like 3 Incursors, 2 Intercessors, Rites of War, and Visage of Death. He would get 11 for objective holding, but we can't give... based on that, we should probably give Adam like a 9.5, but we kind of already scored him a 10, so that's that. Anti-Horde and Infantry, I guess we've got a couple of squads of Intercessors with auto-bolt rifles. We have the Sanguinary Guard bolters, and then that's kind of it, I guess. And I guess you've got the heavy bolter back here as well. So we do have a lot of chainswords. We do have a decent amount of paired combat blades, I guess, from the Incursors. So we could do okay. I mean, I'd say like it's like a 7 for the shooting aspect of it. Maybe a 7.5, maybe an 8. Against big enemy monsters, armor and stuff, we've got the 2 squads of Eradicators, which are good for shooting, and that's kind of it. I guess we've got the Sanguinary Guard swords that could do some work, and we've got a few Power Fists filter through the list as well. In terms of 3 damage weapons, though, I think we have the 3 Infernal Pistols and the Eradicators. So we kind of have 9, but they're very focused, I guess, right? Hey Brent, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. So I don't know, like an 8.5 maybe for killing monsters. Like it's certainly not the strongest list. We've got 10 Sanguinary Guard. We do have 10 Death Company, 3 Power Fists, 3 Infernal Pistols. Normally I feel like we get a bit more damage out of our characters, and these characters are okay. They're nothing special. Like the Librarian in Phobos, he's not going to do much damage. Oh, do you know what? He does have a 3 damage sword, I guess, but overall he's not going to do too much. Or a D3 damage sword. I think it's like an 8. I think most other lists include a little bit more fighty characters. I don't think the characters in this list do so much fighting. Lieutenants are just a little bit weaker, I guess, than normally, chapter masters or captains, which is normally what we see, right? We usually always see like a captain or a chapter master. Mobility-wise is generally pretty good. I mean, I guess the Eradicators aren't mobile. The Intercessors aren't super mobile, but they don't need to be. And then Specialization, I think this is where the list falls over a bit. So you've got 10 3 damage weapons. One of them is D3. And I guess if the enemy can pick off your Eradicators, you may end up having a problem. We also have no Librarian for like Psychic Fortress or Null Zone or Veil of Time. We have no Whirlwind for Suppression Fire. So I guess certain armies, you're going to have a bad deal on that. And then troops-wise, I think we've got too many troops, right? Like, I think I've talked about... I'll need to find the slide actually and like put it into a tab on this document. But I did make a slide on my OBSEC video, and if you've not watched my OBSEC video, you should, because it talks a lot about what you need OBSEC wise. You certainly don't need a 10 in here. Like I'd say like aim for an 8, and to get 8, you probably need like Rights of War and 2 troops. Two Phobos troops, because we know Phobos are the best, right? So 2 Phobos troops and Rights of War probably gives you an 8. Anything more than that is potentially overkill. So these 3 more troop choices, I'd probably rather see them as elite choices. You know, you've only got 4 elites here, so you've definitely got room for 2 more elite squads. And I don't think, I said it before, you don't need Visage of Death and Rights of War. Rights of War is the better of the 2. I think you could save this CP and spend it on something else. So I think Specialization it's like I think you're missing too many key things here. I think it's like 5.5, right? Because you've got no way of fighting first. You've got no way to make the enemy fight last. The Psychic Fortress, I think, provides insane value. Null Zone, we know, provides great value. Too many troop choices, not enough 3 damage weapons. And then, for me personally, I don't like 5-man squads of Sangre Guard. I feel like there's a chance they bounce off the enemy. And I mean, one of the strengths, in my opinion, of the Sangre Guard is to have them near that Warlord with the +1 to hit and the reroll 1s. I think that's super good. I guess you can have them close to the Warlord here. So you're at least hitting on 2s, but like you've got no reroll 1s. So I don't know, like 5-man Sangre Guard, 25 attacks, and you're only hitting on 2s. I mean, you drop on average 4 attacks. So it's still a significant amount. You know, it's almost 20% of the attacks you're going to drop. It's still a significant amount of misses that you have to just deal with. You think 7 for Specialization? Okay, I mean, maybe I'm being a little bit harsh. It's kind of hard going through all the lists when they're, things are always, the lists are quite fluid, things are quite different. Yeah, I mean, to me, for example, Vanguard veterans with power fists and storm shields and double chain swords. Like, I bet you if you math hammer them against just lightning claw and storm shields, the storm shields and lightning claws will come out on top, and they'll also come out more survivable as well, because we know that just Space Marines with no storm shield aren't very survivable on their 3+ invulnerable 3+ regular save. Hey Gitley, good evening, how you doing? All right, 7 for Sangre Guard. Yeah, 7 to 9 is what I always recommend. I think that's the most effective of Sangre Guard. I don't like them in anything smaller than 7. I think the last list where we said 6 on the Flesh Tearers list, or the list before, that's sort of 6 is okay. Maybe I'm okay with 6. But like, I think that 5. I think there's a danger 5 will bounce off enemies, and you've got no captain here, which is a strange. You've got double lieutenant. Like, none of the other lists we've looked at run double lieutenant, and I guess the idea behind this double lieutenant idea was, can I give my warlord Sangre Ancient both Selfless Healer and Rights of War? I think you mean Sangre Priest, Gitley, and no, unfortunately not, because you can only give the second trait from the Blood Angels Codex. So the second trait needs to be something like Gift of Foresight or one of the Blood Angels Codex ones. It can't be It can't be one from the Space Marine Codex. My lieutenants got turned into Blade Guard. I did the exact same thing. I made one of them a Blade Guard, and I'm going to make one of them a Death Company lieutenant just so I have one. All right, so yeah, this list I think is the weakest list of the day. I think it's interesting, right, that he decided that he's going to run 2 lieutenants and he's going to put one on each flank with Eradicators and the Auto Bolt Rifle Interceptors. Intercessors. I think that part of the list is interesting. But I think 5 troop choices is too many. I think Rites of War is too much. I think Visage of Death as well is probably too much. I think that I'd like to see a couple more 3 damage or above weapons. I'd like to see... I think the Sanguinary Guard need a tweak as well. And I think 5 troop choices is just the wrong... I thought long and hard about my list when I dropped down to 1 troop choice, but at the end of it, I basically decided that there's a reason troops are called troops, and there's a reason elites are called elites, and I think it is because they can do more work on the battlefield, the elites. And if your list is set up to make those kills on the enemy, then maybe that's... I think it's better to kill the enemy than to hold objectives. And I think hopefully I've been proving that on my battles on my stream. And, we are going to be live again pretty soon against... I think we're going to play... So I think I've got a battle report coming out this week looking at a game against Sisters, and I think we're playing another improved Sisters list from Andrew next week. So I guess we'll see how we do. Last time I checked Goonhammer, Sisters were... They were if you search Goonhammer tier list, right? Sisters are still top, or Dukari top now? Okay, so Sisters of Battle are still apparently the top tier 1 army. So I guess we'll see how we get on against that soon. Snipers are elites and they don't do crap. Okay, yeah, I'll give you that, Brent. And scouts are elites as well, and they don't do crap either. So yeah. So glad that I painted all those scouts last edition, right, guys? Okay, so final list of today. Russell Dobson. And this is my hammer-focused list for my homebrew chapter, The Hammers of Sanguinius. Hammers become rule of cool, born heroes to try and cancel Thunderhammers -1. Okay, so this is actually a custom successor with born heroes and tactical withdrawal. So we're going to need to read this because it's been a little while. We flick the phone on. What did he say? Born heroes. Each time this model with this tactics makes a melee attack, if this model unit made a charge, then add 1 to that attack's hit roll. Okay, so +1 to hit after you charged. But only charge, nothing to do with heroic interventions or anything like that. And tactical withdraw. This unit with this tactical are able to nice idea. Units with this tactical are able to declare a charge even if they fell back this turn. Okay, this is some next level shit here. I like this. So +1 on all our hits rolls if we charge, and we can fall back and charge. So basically, this is an ABC always be charging list. Thanks, Lagmeister. Thank you for becoming a member. It's very appreciated. I guess we'll get your list for review very soon. Awesome. So this is some next level stuff. Kind of thinking outside the box. So every unit in the army can fall back. Every unit can charge. I reckon Hungry for Battle is better than Tactical Withdrawal, but I like the idea. What's Hungry for Battle again? Hungry for Battle, add 1 to advanced rolls and charge made for the units with this tactic. Yeah, I mean that... The +1 to charge in advanced rolls is so good for Blood Angels. I love it. You don't realise how good it is until you play a lot of games, but it is just super good. So, I guess the main thing though is that this is an interesting idea. So if he's got a ton of Thunderhammers, he can fall back all the time and always end up hitting on 3s, I guess, with Thunderhammers if they're on like Death Company or something like that. All right, let's get into lists. So, as he says, starts with the captain with a jump back, the Storm Shield, and it's the Shield Eternal and the Thunderhammer. Makes sense. A Primaris Chaplain on the bike with Adamantium Mantle and Exoration of Rage. I don't remember what this litany does. The Rage one is add 1 to that attack's wound roll. Oh right, yeah, because they wouldn't have the red thirst anymore, right? So they need this to get their +1 to wound when they do melee attacks. Alright, so that makes sense on the Primaris Chaplain without a bike. Does a character have Gleaming Pinions somewhere in this list? I mean, he might. I think it's about time I join with how much I'm applying John's reasonings to my list. Thank you, Lagmeister. Yeah, you've been around for a while. I appreciate you joining. Welcome. Thank you so much. Alright. Sanguinary Priest, and he is the chief apothecary, and he basically is naked, right? So that's how I run my Sanguinary Priest. I don't think he needs anything else on him. We then have 3 squads of Assault Intercessors. So I guess these are Assault Intercessors who hit on 2s when they charge. Pretty cool. Blade Guard Veteran, 3-man, again hitting on 2s when they charge. Again, pretty cool. Company Veterans with Thunderhammers and Storm Shields, and it's just 3 of them. I'm not sure how he's going to utilise these, but interesting. 3 Thunderhammer Company Veterans. We have a Redemptor Dreadnought, who obviously has a Heavy Flamer, Fragstorm, and Onslaught. So this is the easy to build Redemptor, but I never thought about this, but I suppose having the Redemptor Dreadnought be able to hit with his fist on 2s is pretty nice. Sanguinary Ancient, okay. Who has the Rites of War and the Wrath of Baal, so we're getting +2 inches movement to all of our jump troops. Which is a strange choice considering how few jump troops he has next, right? So we just have 2, 4, 6 Sanguinary Guard and 2, 4, 5 Vanguard Veterans. Oh. I mean, I think considering the cost... Hey Mika, you literally just missed out me reviewing your list 5 minutes ago. I'm sorry. If you want to, I was going to say if you've got any questions, you can always hit us up in the chat or find us in Discord afterwards. Yeah, I mean, I guess the Inceptors get +2 to their movement, but they're not. That's not really the reason to take a Sanguinary Ancient, is it? Then we have Outriders and we have Eradicators. The Sanguinary Ancient is so bloody expensive. I think if you want to run the Sanguinary Ancient, you need way more jump units. Like, you need 1,000 points of jump units if you want to make the Sanguinary Ancient work. He's the same as the cost of 4 Sanguinary Guard. We only have 6 in the Sanguinary Guard squad, so if you're saying, we could get 2 more in the Sanguinary Guard and have 2 towards the next squad, drop the Outriders, and have another whole... You could basically have 2 8-man Sanguinary Guards, drop the Outriders, drop the Sanguinary Ancient. Now, as much as I don't advise that many Sanguinary Guard, I think if you compare 16 Sanguinary Guard to 3 Outriders, 6 Sanguinary Guard and a Sanguinary Ancient, I think 16 Sanguinary Guard are way better, right? And I think you're probably right on the idea of you've paid this chapter tactic to give yourself this +1 to hit on the charge. And then you said that you have a bunch of hammers, but you actually don't have as many as I'd like. You've got 5 here, you've got 3 here, and then you've got your 1 on the captain. I'd drop your Outriders straight away, right? I don't think Outriders are good at all. Chat didn't think they were good at all either. So if you drop your Outriders on the Sanguinary Ancient, gives you, 280 points. That's actually a 6 or 7-man death company with 3 hammers in there. Because I know that 5 death company with 1 hammer is 140 points. So you could, you'd actually have 280 points. You could have a 10-man death company with 2 hammers in there. Do you know what? 10 death company all hitting with their chainsword attacks on 2s would actually be scary as well, right? Because you'd have 8 models with 6 attacks. I think they get in the death company of the chainsword, and then hitting on 2s actually means that you get 40 chainsword attacks through. So without the 5+++ the banner and Sanguinary Ancient isn't needed. I tend to agree. I think the Sanguinary Ancient got hit really hard. he used to be 85 points, so he got like a 50% increase and he got his best ability taken away. And I do understand the Wrath of Baal strategy, and I do think it is good, but I just don't think it's good with only 11 jump units, right? Like, I think the Wrath of Baal stratagem, or the idea behind the Wrath of Baal strategy, is good with like 20, 25 jump units, right? Like, you need to be jumping a huge array of people across the map, not just 11 of them. You'd probably want Assault Terminators with hammers. I think you're 100% right. I think you would want Assault Terminators with hammers in this list. I think the Outriders need to go. I think the Sangre Ancient needs to go. I mean, at that point, then you have enough to get five Terminators with hammers in there. And your shooting is good. Like, the shooting in this list is good, right? You've got Eradicators, you've got Inceptors, that's 290 points of shooting. Then you have a Redemptor, so you've got like 470, 480 points. Sure, the Redemptor needs to get close, but like, if he does get close with his fist hitting on 2s, and the fact that he can fall back, so your Redemptor could fall back, shoot all those weapons, and then charge another target hitting on 2s. Yeah, I mean, that makes it really difficult. Death Company jump packs with hammers, but Death Company can't fall back. Yeah, I suppose, yeah, so maybe not Death Company, that's a good point. Death Company doesn't synergize with the chapter tactic. But okay, it's an interesting idea, and like, props for coming up with the idea of the different chapter tactic, Russell. So objective holding, I want to say it's like 7-5, right? We're not holding a lot of objectives with this list. Assault Intercessors aren't really objective holding units. They're going to move forward, they're going to try and kill stuff. Anti-horde infantry, right? We just talked about, like, we have a good like 480 points of shooting. Your dreadnought is good at taking out infantry, frag storms, heavy flamers, onslaught cannons. I guess your assault intercessors will take out infantry as well. I mean, Outriders, I guess, can take out infantry. I mean, that's probably what they do, I suppose. So I guess your anti-infantry is like 8-5. Maybe even 9. 8-5, maybe even 9. We'll go with 9. We'll say that infantry is pretty good in this list. Anti-monster. Now, we've got 3 melter rifles here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hammers. 6, 7, 8 hammers. 9. So we have 9 3 damage weapons on the list. Oh, the Dreadnought as well. 10 3 damage weapons. And yeah, I think the list would be just much more punchy without the Ancient and without the Outriders. I don't think they're bringing enough to the table. It's 280 points. And maybe I would, if this was me, I'd probably swap out one of these squads of Assault Intercessors for something like an Incursor squad or an Infiltrator squad. Infiltrators to either hold my backfield objective, Incursors to maybe even do something like Scramblers. So anti-vehicle monster, I think it's like an 8. We have a good number of hammers, and I guess we are getting those hammers across the board quickly, and we have a good amount of shooting. Do you know what? I think it's an 8-5. I think mobility is pretty good as well. Probably like a 7-5, 8-ish. I mean, we do have a couple of non-mobile units in the Eradicators and Assault Intercessors, but maybe, you know, that's okay. You're always going to have something that's not mobile, really. And then Specialization, good number of 3 damage weapons, could be a little bit better. Definitely feel like there's a tweak to be made in here somewhere. And then there is no Librarian, and there is no Whirlwind, so maybe in some of the more higher tier metas we might have problems as well. So I think it's maybe something like a 6-5 there. Hey Mick, how you doing? Oh yeah, and you would get less attacks actually because you don't have Red Thirst, right? Or you don't have Savage Echoes, is that? Yeah, you wouldn't have Savage Echoes, is that right? Because you've made your own custom chapter. I actually don't know. Yeah, do you get Savage Echoes if you're a Blood Angel's successor? A Blood Angels detachment is one that only includes models with a Blood Angels keyword. You do still get Savage Echoes. If any unit from your army has a Blood Angels keyword, then every unit has and the Blood Angels detachment. Okay, so you still get the extra attack there. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Because you are a successor, so you kind of are still Blood Angels. Yeah, I thought so. You replaced them with the chapter name. Okay. So, I mean, an interesting list, I guess. But again, I think it could be stronger. I kind of like the idea of the hammers hitting on 2s and rerolling. Sorry, and falling back all the time. I mean, it sounds like it could be pretty deadly. They could just jump about picking off targets. Don't need to finish off anything that's like weak if they don't want to. Some of the successor stuff is pretty interesting, right? I mean, it sounds pretty fun. I think I would definitely roll with an army like this if I wanted some time, but Assault Intercessors always cause a bit of a question mark for me, right? Because like Assault Intercessors to me are running across the board, obviously trying to assault people, and like what are you holding your backfield with, right? Because like in 9th edition, you can literally start on some of these maps where there's 2 objectives. There can be 2 objectives like just outside your deployment zone, right? And like they're easy to claim. You just need to move it 1 unit very small forward. You can usually get them in cover. It's it's kind of counterproductive, right? If you've got Assault Intercessors, because like what you're going to do, you're just going to sit them there with their pistols. They're not going to be in range of shooting anything. So at that point, you've just got 100 points of dead. Like dead space, I guess. But yeah, it is a very different list, Russell, and it is nice to see different. It's nice to see people coming up with cool ideas, and that is definitely because I have read all those successor chapter tactics, but I've never really thought of this as an idea of +1 on all our melee and then fall back and charge something else and +1 on all our melee. It'd be interesting to know actually if that +1 on all the hit rolls is as useful as the +1 on the wound rolls, because if you think about the flow, you do your hit rolls first, then you do your wound rolls, right? So every failed hit is by de facto like a failed wound roll as well, right? So +1 on all the hit rolls in combat and the ability to just instantly fall back and charge anything else. It sounds pretty fun. I'd actually like to try it myself. I know that I remember when last edition, I think when Ultramarines and the Tactical Doctrine could fall back and shoot with no penalty. And when aggressors had that ability that if they were in a Tactical Doctrine from Ultramarines, they didn't count as moving, you could have the aggressors fall back and do like 100 shots. It was absolutely ridiculous. But I kind of like that whole, the being able to fall back and shoot like that is pretty fun. I think it could be pretty strong. I think it could probably win a bunch of games. So, interesting list, Russell. And I think with a few tweaks, this could be pretty strong as well. I think chat agreed. Like, no one in chat, bar one person, I forget who it was now, liked Outriders. Everybody else thought they were bad right now. I thought they were okay when they were 135 points for the squad, right? I don't think they needed to go up 5 points. And also feel a bit sad they didn't get in some extra weapon options. Ultramarines are making a comeback at the moment. Are Ultramarines getting a codex this edition then? I imagine they will be. They'll probably... Do you know what? Ultramarines will get a codex that pushes them like right up the meta, because that's always what happens with Ultramarines. They get some stupid rule that makes them overpowered. And that rule last edition, I played Colin, Ultramarines army, and he literally took 18 aggressors against me. He said that he had, in Tactical Doctrine, he said that he got 590 bolter shots per turn. He was running 18 aggressors and like a bunch of Centurions with Hurricane Bolters as well. It was just absolutely ridiculous. I lost a game against him. I think it was 66 victory points to 65. And like, I was actually happy to just only be 1 victory point behind him, because I was like, your list gets what? Like 590 bolter shots a turn? Like, are you fucking shitting me? Because my list gets like 20 bolters, you know? Multiple Blade Guard are actually a Blade Guard Ancient with the Deeds of Heroism might be really cool in the list. Bit slower, but holds the center. I don't really rate the Blade Guard Banner Bearer all that much either. I kind of feel like the main strength of the Banner Bearer before was the Feel No Pain, and without it, the Banner Bearers to me are just not as strong. But yeah, you know, even Lightning Claw Terminators here would be really good, hitting on 2s. You know, just that hitting on 2s for your whole army on the charge phase is pretty darn nice, to be honest. Okay, well, I think we'll score that list there at 39. So I think Zacharias, you come in today top with just sneaking in at the top list of the day. So well done on that. The other lists are all decent, and hopefully, if you watch back the stream, guys, we said some things that can help make your lists a little bit stronger. Hopefully we gave you some injections of information. Only upward from here, Zacharias. Yeah, only upward, exactly. So, yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. Appreciate you all hanging out. So we normally always have a live game on Monday. I had to stop the live games for a few weeks. I don't know if you caught my stream last night, but the COVID in the area that I'm in is like super low again, so we're actually allowed to meet people inside, multiple people. Like we could do a live game tomorrow, but my wife's actually pregnant again, so I'm being a little bit more cautious because she won't be able to get any sort of vaccine right now. So I'm probably going to be live again on the 31st for live games. So hopefully what we'll have out this week is we'll have a battle report where I talk about tactics on one of the games that we won during our like 10 or 11 game win streak. There was a couple of games I actually played for that win streak on the other channel, the Plastic and Crackheads channel. So thank you so much, guys. So there's a couple of games I played over in the Plastic Crackheads channel. One of them was a really hard fought game against Sisters of Battle. So we're going to do that, hopefully, and that'll maybe be out like Tuesday night. We'll probably do Hobby Hangout as normal on Thursday. And then, you know, Friday tactics, etc. So the only thing that will change is no live stream tomorrow. But I think the 31st is when we'll be back, and hopefully we'll be back to normal at that point. Like the COVID numbers, I checked them earlier in the week, and there was like a day where it was like there was 2 days of 0 new cases of COVID and 1 day with 1. So I think the numbers have fallen away to nothing, but I have to just be a little bit more careful. I did actually wonder if no one was going to say like, hey, how come the Plastic Crackheads are still playing games and you're not? No one asked, but I was just sort of being quiet and keeping it to myself. So, so that's hopefully we'll be back. 31st is a bank holiday, correct? Yes, but it doesn't matter. It's a bank holiday. We'll be streaming, and we'll be live on about 7:30. And yeah, thank you for all the congratulations messages. That's very kind. It's still early, but hopefully we're excited. And I'm kind of hoping it's a boy this time. We already have a girl. 2 girls would be fine as well. But if it's a boy, then we'll have a mini Blood Angels commander. I'd be excited to get them their first army, you know. So yeah, cool. Thank you so much for watching again, guys. And as always, if you want to submit your list, you can do that. If you want to join Discord or Facebook, you can do that as well. And if you have any video suggestions or anything you'd like me to look at in the future, happy to do that as well. I think it was Mark. I think you just saw him in chat. Mark Jackson was asking me if he could look at Dukari. I know that we need to do your video, Highland Phoenix, on Inquisitors. I do want to do that as well. Maybe I'll aim to start on that next week when things are a little bit quieter. It's nice to have a good balance. Yeah, I'm hoping for a good balance. 2 days, 2 streams. I love it. Well, thank you very much for watching, especially the new people. And if you are new here and you haven't subscribed, then you should definitely do that, because we are, we're here for the long term, and we're always doing Blood Angels content. And I guess this was the first video this week where we did something else. And I think I want to do a video on fighting Death Guard and maybe Sisters, but maybe we'll wait. Sisters are getting a bunch of new releases. And I said to Andrew, right, which of the new Sisters units are you buying? And he basically said all of them. And based on the fact that Andrew's going to buy all the new Sisters units, then maybe in the near future we can actually do a video against how we fight against Sisters, how we fight against Death Guard. Oh, Captain, thank you so much for the $5 Canadian from the... Canadian, right? For the next generation of commanders. That's very kind of you. Thank you, brother. So yeah, Andrew's getting all the new Sisters units, so I guess that means that we will hopefully be able to fight against all the new Sisters units sooner rather than later. And then, yeah, so maybe the next few weeks we'll do a video on fighting against Death Guard. We'll do a video on fighting against Sisters, and we'll just keep branching out and doing all sorts of stuff. I did a list for review to one of the latest community videos, made some big changes from my last list that only got a 39. Alright, Matt, I will have a look for it. When did you add it? Just recently? But cool. So yeah, thank you for hanging out, guys. Hope you enjoyed the stream. And yeah, hopefully Battle Report probably Tuesday night, so keep an eye out for that. And it is against Sisters, and it was actually the game that I had to win to take my last list on a 10-game winning streak. So I'm sure we'll mention that in the video, and I know you guys like it when I say win streak. Alright, at the start of the stream. Alright, cool. Well, then I will make sure to pick it up. Let me double check that I can see it. Yeah, I've got it, Matt. Okay, cool. Alright, well, have a great Sunday, guys. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Maybe Redemptors with heavy Gatling is better than Plasma against the Sisters meta. You're probably right, Island, it will be, but I am going to take my next list to a tournament, and I guess because it's going to a tournament, it's going to be a non-tailored list, right? So it can fight all the different armies. So hopefully, as much as Gatlings might be better, we'll probably stick with the Plasmas, just because I think the Plasmas are more versatile overall. I have the funds set aside for the battle tank, walkers, and the shield maidens. So good. So are you going to get the... What's the big woman in the Dreadnought that looked very cool? She's like the High Lord or something. That she's got some crazy rules. I'm looking forward to fighting against her. Actually, I'm looking forward to killing her. I like killing Andrew's characters. But yeah, I think that'll be coming as need. I think we also need one for the Whirlwind as core. Yeah, the Whirlwind is core. The Sisters Primarch, basically. Yeah. I think she's going to be an interesting character. I bet you we're going to see her on the table a lot. Okay, well, yeah, have a great Sunday, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully we'll catch you at some point in one of the videos during the week, and if not, mark it in your calendar. Next Monday night, it's going to be, I think it's going to be Blood Angels against Sisters of Battle, and this is like Andrew's 5th revision of the Sisters list that he keeps revising to try and get stronger and stronger. And I think, well, I think we're going to try and give it a run for its money and try and beat him again and start a new win streak with a new list. So that's what we're doing. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, guys. Thank you for all the kind words, and thank you for the new members and the super chats. It's all very much appreciated. We will see you all pretty soon, I'm sure. By the blood are we made. Peace.